Hello, everyone, and whoops, helps if I unmute myself. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Community Spotlight. We have a Shadow of War episode for you all today. We're going to be showing off Middle-earth Shadow of War, sequel to Shadow of Mordor. It's going to be a lot of fun today. I hope you all enjoy it. Before we get started on that, though, just a few quick announcements to go over. Hotfix has a few things coming up. Submissions for West Coast Weekend are open. We just announced it on Twitter today. It's going to be a West Coast speedrunning event from October 18th to 25th. There is no charity, just showing off West Coast community stuff. So if you would like to submit, you can check out our website, gamesdonequick.com, for that. In order to participate, you need to be from either living there or have lived there at some point: California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, or Arizona. We're going to be partnering up with Red Bull for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, Fleet Fatale's schedule comes out this Wednesday. It's our all-women speedrunning marathon in November. Prize and volunteer submissions will open up at the same time, so keep your eyes on gamesdonequick.com/framefatales for that. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for Time Capsule. It's a show about speedrunning games that all were released in the same year. It's going to be 2014 for the year and of games they're going to be going over tomorrow. It's going to be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, this is the Community Spotlight. We show off games that were suggested by the community. If you have a game you would love to see on this show, you can type !spotlight in chat, or go to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix/spotlight-form, and you can let us know what games you'd like to see. Games that don't get as much exposure or categories that don't get as much love, we love to show them off here on the show. But we've got Reich on here who's going to show off Shadow of War for us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you going?
I'm doing pretty well. So how would you explain this game to people if they haven't seen it before? Like, what's the quick rundown?
Is it's a third-person sort of action fighting game, similar to the Batman Arkham Asylum style games, with a little bit of sort of Assassin's Creed style gameplay mished into it. So it's sort of a mix between the two, and it's a very fun game to play.
All right. What would you say that people should need to know before we get started? Because I know you had some things you wanted to explain about some of the game mechanics before we got started.
Yep, so the main game revolves around a system called the Nemesis system. So here is the Nemesis system for the example. This is in this map. There are multiple maps in the game, and these are sort of the enemies, and if I had any allies on this map, the allies that I would be seeing. The thing I wanted to show off was basically how the Nemesis system works. So each orc here is completely RNG dependent. We don't have much control over what they have. And they have these different abilities, and this is what sort of dictates the run and the flow of the run. So for example, with this orc here, Tugog, he is completely immune to execution and curse. He will get angry if he kills another captain. I'll discuss that a bit later. This is his classes, his bonuses, and then you can see sort of the weaknesses and the things that we can exploit on the other side. So he runs away when he sees flies, Morgai flies. He's very easy to kill with stealth or with large beasts. He gets dazed when he is pinned, which again I'll go over later. And finally you can just see what damages him. I'm going to be talking a lot about that because we don't take the time to scout out most of the Nemesis during the run. We actually just flat out just go for it and sometimes hope for the best. Outside of that, the only thing I need to talk about is just the GUI. It's obviously very minimalistic outside of the large thing in the top left saying, please select an objective. The main thing I need people to know is just down in the bottom left, the white bar that you can now see that's depleting, just above where my arrows are. That is our focus bar. So whenever I talk about conserving my focus, or I need more focus for this section, or I need to wait for my focus to recharge, that's the bar I'm talking about. It allows us to sprint, like you can see now, and it also allows us to slow time when we pull out our bow. So you can see here, all these orcs are quite slow, and if I toggle it off, they go back to regular speed. Besides that, the rest of everything else I will explain as we go along, as we unlock them in the main campaign.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let me exit out of here. let me delete my saved game. So, I am ready to go whenever you would like.
Yeah, why don't you give us a countdown?
Okay. So, let's go with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So straight away here, we're going to skip over all the cutscenes that explains exactly what the game's about. Right now, we are trying to rescue Kara Brimbor, who is the ghost Wraith that helped craft the original One Ring, and he has been, in this second game, he has been captured by Shalom. So we're just going to speed through here. There's not much to show off here. We are just sort of sprinting directly to a company. It's a very strange opening, but it's meant to teach you the game mechanics, but luckily we don't need to do that. Okay, so we immediately hit a loading screen 40 seconds in, which is a bit unfortunate, and then we'll have some more cutscenes we'll skip. First thing we should go over is probably how cutscenes work in this game. So there are two types of cutscenes. There are the pre-rendered cutscenes, which we can skip, and then there are cinematic in-game cutscenes like this one, where we cannot skip them.
And they could lead us to the Palantir. We must find a worm and make him talk.
So we're going to immediately jump off this cliff and go find ourselves some intel on the orc that's raiding the capital. This is how we sort of pick up the information before how we show it. I'll go a little bit slower here than I normally do. This is how we discover the information. We find those worms across the map, we interrogate them for information, and then we make their heads explode.
The captain leading the search is in the lower
So
city.
now we're going to just sort of look for that captain. Luckily he's in the same location, and he is one of the few captains that is not RNG dependent. We always know his strengths and weaknesses, so we can abuse that straight away. This is just the bow tutorial. Unfortunately, we can't, the moment the menu comes up, we can't press. We actually have to wait half a second here. So what I'm doing here is I'm turning off my focus and allowing time to go back to normal, so I can conserve as much focus as possible, and then just toggling it on so I can get those headshots. These puzzles are always a pain. So these involve moving my mouse and pressing keys on my keyboard at the same time, and they are always randomized, and I always get them. So I'm just going to blow up that barrel, and now we get our only free focus refill of the game, and that's because the game now is teaching us how to focus. And we're going to go into a different mission type here. So I'll toggle that back on in a second and explain what exactly it is. It is the Wraith world. It is a way for us to be able to see through walls and see through objects and find captains, as you can see here. So I'll toggle that off because it is a little hard to navigate. And this is our first captain of the game. He is always weak to stealth, thankfully. So if we wait half a second, you'll see a dazed condition come up. What that means is he won't move. Quickly here while I explain this happening. He's not going to move, he's going to take extra damage, and he's going to lose all of his immunities. I missed a skip there, but that's okay. That's a 2-second save you can do. You can interrupt that line by that character by pulling in that weapon. Okay, so this is our first escort mission of the game. So that is Idril that we just ran past. She is a captain in this area, and we have to help her. We have to help her basically rescue all these men. So we're going to stop there, get a free arrow refill, and we stopped far enough away. Oh, no, they saw us unfortunately, where we could try to get a stealth attack on these guys as well. So we're going to pull out our bow here. We're just going to kill orcs here. So this is sort of like a kill X amount of orcs, and then we get to move on. And this is how these escort missions work. We roll through bushes, because that's faster when we're out of focus. And the main goal of this area is to stay in front of Idril. As long as we stay in front of her, she will continue to run at full speed, and she will not be slowed down. We're going to pop 2 guys here, go in, get a stealth attack on the 3rd, and then do some arrow work here. Perfect. We're out of arrows, so we'll just go ahead and start killing random orcs as much as we can. If we can, we focus down archers because they have lower HP. So I'm not going to wait for my focus to recharge here because we're going to have to wait for Idril. Unfortunately, She is an NPC who, if we stray too far away from her, as you can see now, we're getting a warning basically saying, hey, you're about to fail the mission and get too far away from her. So we've got a little bit of time here as we slowly, casually walk up. And please, by the way, interrupt me with any questions you have. I have a tendency to enjoy talking. So,
somebody in chat was asking how you were toggling focus with the bow out, because they only
okay.
ever knew how to do that with putting their bow away.
So, with a controller, it is left thumbstick if you're using an Xbox controller, and if you're using keyboard and mouse like I am, it is spacebar. So again, this is just another section where we're just killing X amount of orcs. There aren't very good spawns today, but that's alright. And now we get to move on. I'm going to actually disappoint the world record holder here and grab the safety arrows. We normally skip these, but we call them the safety arrows because if you get really unfortunate spawns in the next coming fight, you can use them as a backup. But he doesn't like me going for them. Alright, so now we've unlocked the glaive attack, which is that big AoE attack we just did. So our goal here is there is an actual very difficult skip we can try to go for. I'm not sure if I'll get it, where we need to kill 2 orcs at the same time who are the last 2 standing. And if we do, we actually save about 10 seconds by skipping an animation. Doesn't look great here for that. No, it's unfortunately not going to happen, but that's alright. And this is the animation, this slow down animation you can skip. And that is the first mission done. So here is the talent tree. I will, while we're stuck in this cutscene that we cannot do anything about, because this is an in-game cutscene, I will explain captains a little bit more. So captains have 4 states. They have a normal state, which is when you first see them. They have an enraged state, which means they take a lot less damage. I believe it's 50% less damage. They do a lot more damage, they attack faster, and they use their special abilities more often. It is really difficult to deal with enraged captains, especially when they're higher level than you. I'll just quickly do a little bit of map navigation. There is another state. Sorry?
I assume that they're going to be higher level than you for most of the run, because speed run and we're skipping as much stuff as we can.
From about 30 minutes in, they're normally higher level than me. And it gets to the point where there's sort of there's a very big distance at the end between us and the captains, which makes them very dangerous. The third state is a day state, which you saw the guy who I stealthed, the captain that I stealthed. He's listening for an audio cue. As soon as he said purify, we can start channeling on this object. And this is a fast travel system, by the way. This is sort of a tutorial on how to do it. Luckily, we only have to unlock the very last bit of the puzzle, which is always there. We don't have to do the rest of it. And then we're going to head to the second mission. So, going back to the captains, the day state is the third state we saw before. They lose all their immunities while day state. So, you saw I killed that captain with some arrows before. He's actually immune to arrows. However, in the day state, he is not. And the final state, which we probably won't see, it's pretty rare, is called Terrified. And that's basically their captains are completely broken, they are running away from us, and they are no longer willing to fight. So we're just going to go into the Wraith Horde here to open this door. And this is like a memory for Celebrimbor when he was alive. So that's why we're playing as him now.
How does the daze state interact with the enraged stuff? Will that still enrage them?
Daze overwrites enraged, thankfully, for us. And so yeah, if they're enraged, we can actually trigger a daze state still. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I'm unlocking this ability here called Elven Rage. And that's that blue bar around my health bar on the right side, you can see training now. And this, even if this wasn't a mandatory mission, we would go out of our way for this mission. That is the single strongest ability in this game, and we'll see us abuse that a lot during the run. We have set up routing sort of to have the Elven Rage at certain points. It's a charge ability, which means it takes time to charge, and it charges based on the orcs we kill.
Yeah, even with having to unlock it there, that didn't take too long, so
no.
I can see why it would be very good even if it wasn't required.
now that we've unlocked a gem, we have to go through the gem tutorial. We're actually not going to socket that gem here at the moment. We're going to socket that a little later. It is a very important gem, however, we don't have the money to put it in the slot that we want. So putting a gem in different slots does different things to you. Ooh, I am definitely going the wrong way here. Apologies about that. I was going to the 5th mission, not the 3rd mission. That's okay, it's only a 10-second time loss. And here we are at the 3rd mission. So this is the first mission where RNG comes into play. And it actually depends completely on the orcs that are about to spawn here. Ideally, they're all spawned in a big clump. You can see them here running up. They're not, unfortunately. I'm going to hold my bow here for a second. Did I get... So you can actually kill all the orcs with that one barrel explosion, but you need them to be clumped up.
That was only
And
the beginning.
if you're interested, this game is still very new in the speedrunning community. As such, we found this skip last night. So
Really?
we don't actually have to go the way they tell us to. We can come down here, and it is a lot faster to walk down here. And the game will then freak out for a few moments and teleport us up to the location we're meant to go.
The city can't take much more.
So that saves about 4 or 5 seconds, and we just found that last night. The Kaiser, the world record holder, actually found that and then sent it to me on Discord.
One of the siege beasts.
So next time you have a cutscene, can you drop the bitrate a little bit more? We're still getting some minor skips.
Absolutely, I will.
I'm kind of dealing with it for now, but next time you get a chance.
Yep, no problems at all.
See what this thing can do.
Here they come.
Okay, so here's our Siege Beast tutorial. We don't actually use these much in the speedrun, however, it is mandatory to go through and learn how to operate them. Load here, and if we do this right, that should be enough. So kill the first Siege Beast, and now we have to go for the second Siege Beast.
It's a formidable.
And here is the only instance in the game where we're going to use Elven Rage for its speed boost. Elven Rage, while using it, does actually give you a run speed increase. However, it's so valuable normally that we don't want to use it. But the Siege Beast missions, thankfully,
Then it will only be a matter of time till they find a plan.
instantly refill our Elven Rage bar as we're killing so many orcs. Okay. And one thing I didn't mention, which I should have, is you can occasionally see me jumping over small boxes or small objects on the ground and then the spacebar prompt coming up. That actually is what we call a free boost. And the game actually allows us to, without using our focus, have a sprint if we jump over these little rocks and things. That's a leftover animation, leftover thing from the first game. So it's really handy for us as runners when we're trying to route the early game. So again, we're just killing orcs, and you can see my Elven Rage is already full, back to where it needs to be. That is mission done.
Push them back. For now.
Another attack will surely.
Okay, let me just drop that bitrate for you slightly. Won't be 1 second.
Yeah, stream freezing here is just Rycon adjusting the bitrate. So stick with us a second, everyone.
Follow. We should return to the upper city.
It will not let me drop the bitrate without ending the stream.
Oh, it won't?
No, it's grayed out for me again.
I mean, if you need to, go for it, because yeah, it just keeps...
Yep, that's no problems at all. It won't be 1 second.
Just trying to fix the lag issues, everyone. So stick with us. We'll be going again pretty shortly.
Okay.
Oh, you had to restart the game?
Yeah, I had to restart the game, unfortunately. This game does not like being alt-tabbed, and it completely locked up on me when I did so.
Oh,
But that's okay, we just finished a mission, so we literally just hit a save point.
yeah.
So the only difference here is that we're going to be at a slightly different location than where we'd expect to end the mission, but it does not matter for the speedrun at all, as we're going to immediately fast travel anyway. Okay. So, you can see here we're just back to the second mission location, but we have everything we need. So here I'm going to level up. We're going to grab the execution ability, which is our main combo builder and combo spender. And we're going to grab this ability to teleport towards fires. We're also going to go into our inventory and unlock this gem slot and put this in here for an increased XP. Finally, we're going to fast travel to the second zone of the game.
It looks good so far after that change, so hopefully that's what we
Okay.
needed.
So this is the second zone of the game. This is my personal favourite zone. And this is a grub. The first time you ever see the beast in this game, it does force you into that tiny cutscene, and that's actually a good thing to see the cutscene now, because it can interfere with some strategies a bit later. We're immediately going to climb this tower, and then use the new campfire ability that we have to start teleporting around two campfires, which is a great movement ability. But there are bombs here, which means there is a captain nearby somewhere. And this is good RNG, being able to see this Caragor encounter now. I'll explain why that's good RNG in a moment. Oh, someone's attacking me. This game is doing its slowdown thing. Perfect.
So it looks like it cleared your Elven Rage from the restart. Is that going to be a problem?
No, I have a few backup strategies, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So, again, we're just doing focus toggling here to try to get 4 headshots. We need to save 1 arrow here. And that guy's down. The game expects you sort of to build up your might and execute him, but it is much faster just using the arrows there. And now we finally get to see Gollum. And I am just going to... I'm a little low on focus, so I'm just going to skip over that barrel, get my free focus, and
They are all on high.
recharge.
War trolls. They're
So
smarter,
we're gonna
faster, and immune to
build up a little bit of Elven Rage here.
Sauron's forces are more powerful than ever.
As those guys die, get a free boost off that rock on a really awkward angle. And we should be able to roll into an in-game cutscene, and by the time we're done, our focus will be fully recharged. So what's happening in the game at this point is Gollum is escorting us around the map. He is helping us find find a captain, and we're basically going around and looking for dead bodies that this captain has left. So this is the tutorial that introduces weaknesses. Oh, I used a bunch of mini arrows, but that's okay. Back up here. And around here,
Find the Uruk bodyguards as targeted.
this body here.
Earlier you said you
Unfortunately, we can't just run ahead here. Gollum is actually what spawns these triggers to interact with these captains. The bodies are always there, but we do have to wait for Gollum. If we get too far away from him, he will stop trying to trigger these events and instead will run towards us, and then we have to escort him back to where he was.
like customary.
Here is the second one. It's always in the same location, thankfully.
Idea is you must be kept alive at all costs.
Wounds from
And these orcs are very nice, and they will not attack me while I'm inspecting the body. They'll just wait for me.
We are getting closer.
Gollum should know where the next target is. I found another Uruk. He hasn't been dead long.
So this is where, this next encounter up here is where we would normally use our Elven Rage, but that's alright. It's not the worst thing in the world. We will just have to fight this how we used to fight this when we first started running. So, execute this guy. Unfortunately, I have to save my arrows for a captain coming up. Just almost done there. There we go. Brilliant. So using Elven Rage there saves about 25 to 30 seconds. And it is really, really just a solid strategy because by the time we need Elven Rage again, it is perfectly up and running. So again, this is another way of interrogating orcs. But this time we're going to learn about Captain's weaknesses. So the game is actually trying to actively tell us that this guy is always afraid of flies. And this is the last of the preset orcs that we will be fighting for a while. The rest from here on out, Captain-wise, are all RNG.
The Warchief is useless.
Come up here, shoot the flies. That will set him into a dazed set, which we can now stealth attack him. Use that execute, which is that orange bar over our HP bar. And that is actually RNG. Normally we'd have to also shoot him with 2 arrows, however he is weak to execute, and so he died instantly. So that's an instance of good RNG in our favour. And he also dropped a sword, which is great for us. So,
Your drilling customer should be safe.
should now fast travel to this location and move on to the next mission.
But the siege of Minas Ithil continues. The Palantir is still at risk of falling into enemy hands.
We are behind enemy lines. This is a perfect opportunity to sow chaos within Sauron's ranks.
So it's Cerebrimbor, the ghost that you see there when I do the dash, and Talion is the other main character, and they're the ones discussing and talking to each other constantly. Your character isn't insane, even though it sounds like it. I'm gonna kill this guy, and hopefully, no, unfortunately not. So ideally we'd be able to find another white gem to put in our cloak for more XP. It's not needed, we have all the gems we need to complete the run. However, it makes smoothing out XP quite nice. But it doesn't look like we're going to get one of those runs today.
Do you have any other opportunities for that later? Or?
Can't have run out of orcs.
There are a few sort of scattered opportunities, but we don't go... You could go out of your way and definitely find one. We've found a couple of missions that do gem drops, but they're not worth the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It only saves time on the recruiting split. So what we have now is we have the ability to summon minions, in this case Gondorians, and basically send them to execute people, which is what you saw that this little animation do, and I'll play it again here just so everyone can see it. That little animation there, where this guy's now targeted in red, means that the Gondorians are going to kill that guy. So that's really helpful in one mission. Oh, and we got a donkey walk. So that is a bad glitch where the game will consume our focus but not give us the focus speed. And I mentioned before about the Caragor being good to see Caragor early. It's because of... No, the game decided to target that guy over the captain. That's okay. It's because of this encounter here. Because ideally, if you see the Caragor for the first time here, it actually turns to face you, and then the captain is almost guaranteed to see you, and you cannot get a stealth attack on him. So here, this is our standard way of fighting early, and we're just going to finish him off with a couple of arrows. Now that was actually a really good textbook fight. Oh, I have to block that. Another cutscene about to start, as that breaks the cutscene. That was a good example of a textbook fight. What we want to do with all captains is they have a guaranteed opening line and a possible closing line. And when they deliver their lines, they completely lock up the game while they're doing it, so you have to stare at them. Which is very frustrating, as you can imagine, but we can mitigate the opening line by keeping them stunned, keeping them locked, not attacking them.
We have to kill them all, and we need help from the Gondor. Okay. To do it.
Let me, thank you. So yeah, and this is a random captain encounter. So this is the opening lines we're trying to avoid. So this is what happens when a captain sees you, and we can't do anything to get out of these, and they can go for up to 30 seconds. So our whole early game is designed around trying to... another drop, that's all right. Trying to mitigate those lines wherever possible. Okay.
I assume for the most part, unless it's required, you're not going to be fighting any extra captains as well?
No, there's only one point where we go out of our way to fight captains, and that is during the recruiting phase where it is required to get them still. So, but I will explain that much later in the run, because that is still a while off. Yeah, for the most part, we want to avoid any captains. We want to avoid anyone we don't have to fight. Okay, and this is the first of the stealth style missions in the game. This one's fairly easy.
They will need help.
One
So we'll
Warchief
go and meet
makes
Baranor.
difference.
He will tell us about all the
Right now,
archers
just
and the
one
Warchief.
Baranor.
Who's here.
I'm
And the
here
way
today. It's
it will,
Warchief you're after.
if I
It's not gonna be taken
mention
lightly.
sort of
You brought
Overlord
down
or
Warchief
Warchief or
before.
Captain, essentially they're all the same
I
mob.
won't turn
It's
down
just
an
their
extra
rank within the Orc
We shall take them
society
down
and
together.
sort of where they're
I'll
going to be
take out his
positioned
archers
in the game.
first. Your
So
men
captains
will
can be
bring
anywhere
up
in the game. They can be in forts, out of forts, everything like that. War chiefs will be in forts defending strategic points, which we'll see a bit later. And then overlords are sort of like the orc in charge of that big citadel, which we'll get to again a bit later in the run. So here, if we're really lucky,
Usually work alone.
this shot will... This shot, yes, we got lucky. We'll kill that archer over there. If it doesn't kill him, it's okay, because it will draw him out, and then we get an easy shot on him.
Do that part.
And we're just basically killing all the archers here. Oh, that did not kill that guy. Oh,
Only 3.
that's a bad shot by me. Apologies. There we go. Brilliant. And here we're just killing all the archers before we can trigger the
Never
next fight.
underestimate men fighting to protect their home.
This is not their home.
Okay, come up here. And now these arrows here are absolutely vital to a strategy we're about to use. Pick them up. Kill this guy.
That's the last of the archers.
That's the last of the
Now
archers.
let's get to a vantage point.
Oops. Good.
Aim to signal Varanor's men.
There we go. So this is the first Warchief we see, and he's sort of in command of a lot of the captains here.
Nothing is sweeter.
Now I'm going to do something, I'm going to actually stop talking for a second, because I'm going to do a few precise shots, jump on a box, and then try to pin this guy's foot, which is not as easy as it sounds. And if I manage to get all of this right, we have a potential chance to avoid his opening lines, but it's not guaranteed, unfortunately. And I need to quickly level up here, grab pinning, which is an ability that lets us shoot an orc's foot and stun them. I then need to make sure I blow up these barrels before Baranor does, so I get the elven range. Land on these boxes, pull out my bow, and pin him. Yes! Okay, that's great. So, we now have the potential to avoid this guy's lines. We do still have to keep him stunned the entire duration here, otherwise he will start using his lines. Perfect. Unfortunately, he's gone into the enraged state, which means he's going to take less damage. I'm not sure what enraged him yet. Okay, and they tell us he's enraged by injury. So that's just bad RNG. He's enraged whenever he gets hurt, basically. And because of the enraged state, we trigger his opening lines. So that's unfortunate RNG, but nothing we can control, and long run, it still doesn't matter. We can just see how long these lines are, where there is nothing we can do.
Yeah, this is a long one. Like, I haven't run this game, but I've seen some that are really short, and then that one was just really long.
Yep. So we'll try to finish him off with... No, unfortunately not. Oh, cool. He got finished off by Baranor. So if we finish him off there, we actually trigger his closing line as well. You can avoid that with the glaive, with the bow and arrow, with environmental effects, or with an ally killing them. Oh, and we got a white gem. That is great. So that's a random drop. And we can put that in our cloak. And we can now equip that extra weapon we got before. So that's actually really lucky RNG. And that makes me very happy.
You trust her too easily.
So this early game really revolves around making sure that we watch our focus, and then we're always going to have focus to run to the areas we need to go to. Making sure that we've got Elven Rage available for the missions that we need it for. And yeah, basically hoping for a white gem drop and a sword drop, which we both got. So this is going to be a really solid run going into the arena, which is not this mission, but the next mission.
Wait, bright master. We knows how you can find betrayals.
So the first white gem you put into your chest piece, I believe it was, to gain more experience. What are you going to use the second one for?
Same thing. So we
Same
put
thing?
it in to gain more experience, but we put that in our cloak instead of our body armor. And they're actually different types of gems. The first gem that we got was a tier 2 gem, which means it gives more XP than the tier 1 gem that we found. And they're sort of bonuses from the Caribou Ball missions. Now this is the skip that I found. Oh, we're going to have to go for the backup. That's
We'll
fine.
take it from here.
This guy loves to talk, and he will stop and talk to every captain on the way, which loses about 45 seconds. However, if we just peg him with an arrow, all of a sudden he's seen us, but we don't fail the mission, saying do not raise an alarm. And he will now no longer stop and talk to the captains, and instead he will just run to the very end because he's now scared that we're going to kill him. So we're taking a pretty particular path here to avoid any alarms and to get there before he does. We're going to summon our guards, and we're going to tell them to go kill those guys. We will come up stealth this guy, pull out our bow. 1, 2, 3. And now we will make sure we dismiss our guards before they attack the messenger here. And finally, we will shoot this nest as the cutscene starts. That nest spawns spiders, which have a chance to attack this guy and make this fight faster. Now we have another instance of RNG coming up here, and this guy, we want him to be not arrow immune. If he's arrow immune, we will guarantee get his opening lines. We cannot prevent it. But if he's not arrow immune, we can actually prevent his opening lines. So again, we can use the pin method to pin his foot, but if they're arrow immune, the arrow bounces off and they automatically trigger their opening lines. And this is another long one as well. So I'll pull out our bow. They cannot start their lines while I've got the bow out, and he's not arrow immune, so that is great. I'm going to switch to controller here, because doing the execute spam, as you can see me doing, while using Elven Rage, I find it is much easier on controller. And that was an absolute textbook fight. That is incredible. I'm so happy about that. So the way it works is we've got to knock captains down below 15% of their HP, and then they'll be able to be broken like this, and we can either, later in the game, we'll be able to convert them to our side, but right now we can just torture them for information. So that is our first legendary piece of gear. It's always a guaranteed cloth drop. Just grab Caragor riding, and then we're going to go into our quest menu. I'm going to zoom into Minas Ithil, and we're going to fast travel back to that point we unlocked way back at the start of the game. Okay, so time for the arena. This is the first reset point of runs, if you're going for a world record. So this has 4 captains in a row. We always know what the first captain is going to be, but we don't know his statistics. So captain 2 and 3 are completely RNG, and we recently decided to allow a ruling to control the 4th captain, which I'll explain in a moment.
He has size on his side.
So this captain's always an OLAG, and if we get lucky, he's not fire immune.
Welcome to the arena, man swine. The crowd screams for bloody spectacle.
And to explain what's going on in the story right now, we're doing a distraction for Idril. So she's going to go rescue her father. Yes, he's not fire immune, that's great. We run behind him, push him into the centre of the arena. He's got very low HP, so I'm not actually going to execute him here. I'm just going to keep attacking him. Because I don't want his closing lines, because they are very low. So now we're going to roll this way. And kill him with an arrow to avoid his closing lines.
You fought well.
So like story-wise, you're fighting in an arena just because you're going to attract a lot of attention, sort of thing?
Yep. Yep, that's it. She's going on a stealth mission to rescue her father, and we are here to basically... As Kara Brimball puts, which I did skip because I was going too fast, he says we have to dance for them. So this is us dancing for them. So these two captains, that's very that is very unfortunate. So, he's an archer. He's completely RNG, and an archer has a very good high, put it in a D&D sense, perception stat. He can see us from very far away, and we're going to get his open lines because of that. He's also a sniper, which means that he was shooting me while the cutscene was still happening. At least, on the lucky side, he's always got... Archers have very low HP. We're going to glaive finish him here, again, just to make sure we skip closing lines. Hopefully I'll be able to show it off here. Yes, he spawned in a different location. The reason why we don't want high perception is we can actually stealth attack. Even though they're coming for us and they know we're coming for us, we can stealth attack them for some reason.
That's really weird.
It is really strange. Okay, so I made a mistake then. I pulled out my glaive while he wasn't stunned, and that's what triggered his opening line. But that's alright. That's a good way to show off how easy it is to trigger their opening lines, because they are really easy to trigger. And here is going to be the first instance of a glitch. Plus, this is my Nemesis from Shadow of Mordor. This is RNG setting that I was talking about. He is a drunk, which means he has the shortest line possible. And he's also not immune to Caragors. And on a Caragor, once we build up our might, we're going to get his opening line, but thankfully he's a drunk, so it won't matter. Okay, we have our might, and on Caragors, if we do a certain button combination as we run them over, we can instantly kill any captain that is not beast-proof. And that will come, we call that the Caragor Donk, because the speedrunning community let me name a trick, and that was a bad mistake by them. So I called it the Caragor Donk. And it is going to be hugely useful. And in fact, it forced a full reroute of this game about 4 months ago in terms of talent points and setups we do, because we discovered that. And that was discovered by the world record holder Kaiser, who is an amazing man, by the way, and you guys should definitely check out his run, because it is incredible.
Yeah, Kaiser's in chat talking to people right now.
Yep. It's 1 AM for him, and he decided to stay up and talk to people, so big shout-outs to him. But yeah, that's the Caragor Donk, and it is an incredible glitch that allows us to bypass a lot of hard fights. So here is the second instance of a stealth mission, and I want you to keep in mind, this is one of those missions where, it's, you know how the game says stealth is optional? So we're going to do this instead, and just create massive explosions everywhere. Our goal is to free these captured Gondorians, and we're meant to be doing this stealthily, but we're just going to instead have used the fact that we can teleport to fires.
I'm curious about this whole, like, making the fire explode, which kills all the orcs, but the captured Gondorians seem to be fine.
Yep, as long as they're tied to a post, they're fire immune. We don't know exactly why, but it's a great little thing. So here I'm going to send Idril to kill that guy. We're going to blow up this barrel, set myself on fire. Again, stealth is 100% optional here. And if we're lucky, we'll have some orcs come and investigate why there was an explosion. Idril will snipe them out. And we're going to come up here. So I'm actually killing the orcs because the secondary mission that we have for this rescue is we have to kill all the orcs once we're done freeing all the captains, so we may as well just, as we're making our way through the camp, kill as many as we can. Grab those arrows. Unfortunately, we can't teleport to the fire brazier you see just in front of us.
Nicely done.
Just have an arrow to the face. Is Idril gonna... No, she's deciding to kill more orcs rather than free the Gondorians. That's fine. So we have some control over her AI, but not complete control. She still does whatever she pleases. It's just that we can control her to some parts. So I'm going to send her to kill that orc, which should override anything she's doing currently. I'm going to come around here and kill this guy. When she kills the final orc, we will get a prompt to come to this champ right here. And I'm going to summon my Caragor, which is a talent we've picked up. Run up here. This is meant to be an escort mission, but the actual objective is just to kill the guards on the bridge, which we trigger now. The game doesn't actually care about us escorting, and thankfully there are 2 fireplaces here. So we can just do that and then run straight into the mission end. Okay. Oh, level 10, that's great. That's earlier than we normally anticipate, and that's because I found that second bite gem.
We must return to...
Quickly skill up here. Normally we do this for the next mission, but this will be useful. So this gives me my first ability to spend my my might, the orange bar that you can see in the top left again. I can now spend it on an AOE ability rather than just a single high damage ability. So here we are just waiting for 2 minutes. The only thing I'm trying to do right now is build my Elven Rage, because we'll be using it later on. Oh, low poly Olag there. So when they go like that, that's just their low poly version that sometimes occasionally pops up, because I'm playing on low graphics settings. Oh. And it doesn't really matter how much damage I take here. I'm really just looking at getting my Elven Rage built up. We have plenty of time if we have to wait out the timer. Elven Rage is built up. One other strategy I want to try to do, but it's not guaranteed. We need to make sure that we see the Drake that's flying around here, which is why I'm looking around like a madman. There it is there. So that we get that Drake encounter pop up, this one here, and that doesn't mess us up later on.
Is that just because we're waiting on a timer now anyway, so getting pop-up here just doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter at all, and I'm actually going to go and execute this Drake. Whoop. You want me execute today, buddy? There we go. And using a special ability does stop the timer up the top, as you can see. But we're doing this, hopefully, to get a tier 2 gem drop. No, unfortunately it dropped money. That's okay. That's 5-6 seconds wasted, but it is worth it if we get the gem drop. Especially if we get a red gem, which increases our damage when we put it in our weapons. So now I am just building up my might on my Caragor. And unfortunately, the fastest way to get through this part is to sit back here and just watch the fight now. There is a small amount of slowdown when you're attacked on easy, to try to give you more time to parry, and that actually stops the timer while that slowdown happens. So our best bet is to stay out of the fight and to just run laps up here where the orcs won't actually come, because they will not pass this barrier.
So we've got the cheerleader Caragor in the back.
Yep, that's our cheerleader Caragor. And at the end of the timer, a captain spawns, which is why we built up our might early.
You had a pretty good idea of what was coming when you built up the Caragor might.
Yep. Level 16. Not a archer, so we have a chance again to avoid his lines. I'm just trying to line it up perfectly here. No, he saw us unfortunately before I can pull out my bow.
You taking you down's just for me.
It's alright. So bump him and the Caragor donk again. Oh, hammer. Didn't pick that up unfortunately, but that's alright. I'm going to switch to controller again here, and these are the Nasgul. So we're going to... Anytime I'm switching to controller, it's because we're doing Elven Rage now. And I find it personally much easier to just control with the controller. So I'll now go back to keyboard and mouse. this is how the Nasgul fight goes. So our goal is to get them all down to the broken state. Every Nasgul will let you hit them 4 times, and then they will do something. So like that one will dash away, and then occasionally they'll do special abilities like this where they attack me. I can kind of sometimes weave attacks in between. They really don't like being grouped up, but if I am able to group them up, I will cleave them down whenever I can. They really try to fight being grouped up. So here we can see the first Nazgul's broken, and we can get him out of the fight. Just trying to weave attacks in between these parries that I have to do. Every time they hit me, they do reduce my my might by a bit, so we really don't want to get hit at all. As it's slow to build up until we unlock a new ability later in the game. Any questions? Now's a great time. I don't really need to concentrate on this fight. It's very much going with emotions. It just takes a bit of time.
I haven't seen too many questions in chat, so...
That's alright.
How's the luck been so far? You've gotten a few captains spotting you, but like, how are the other things? Like, how would you rate this run so far?
I would rate this run pretty good. I had real good luck with the captain at Trader's Gate not being immune to arrows, and I also didn't get his opening line, which is rare for me, which is great. We've also had a sword drop and an extra white gem drop, so that's great. So it's actually been really, outside of the captain spotting me, it's been a really good run so far.
Someone in chat's asking if there's any really big skips in this run, if it's all going to be sort of a lot of those smaller skips we've seen already.
It's unfortunately a lot of smaller skips. We do have the ability to actually clip out of the game a lot, and we can clip through a lot of things. However, it doesn't actually amount to anything. The game's got really solid programming, and mission points have to be done before you can move on. So, for instance, later in the game, we can actually clip into the Overlord's room while we're trying to capture a fort. However, the Overlord doesn't actually spawn until you've captured all the locations and killed the Warchief. So, even though we can get into his room early, he's just physically not there. So, unfortunately, no big skips, but a lot of little skips. So now we're running to rescue Shelob, who has the new ring that we forged, and she's getting attacked by Nasgul. Now, for anyone interested in going, wow, this game looks pretty interesting, I wouldn't mind running it, but 3 hours is a bit long. We're about to complete the any percent Act 1 category, which is literally just get to the end of Act 1, which is right here. So that is the end of the Act 1 run. So anyone who wants a shorter category, it's a really nice small RNG category, and it's my favourite category personally. And so now we're unlocking the new zone called Nern.
Yeah, we just wanted to show off the full run for the spotlight, because with the spotlight
absolutely.
we just love to do that.
I prefer the full run is definitely my jam. It's just because of the next couple of sections that have huge sways in RNG, it always makes me a little nervous to run it.
The greatest assets are the power of the ring.
So now we have the One Ring back. Well, the new ring. Not the One Ring, the new one that we forged. And so now we're actually able to dominate orcs and bring them to our side. So this is by far the worst mission in the game. All the other stealth missions say, do not raise the alarm, whereas this one in the top left actually says, do not be detected. And that just means physically do not be spotted. And it's just unfortunate that this game was ported from console originally, because the button for Dominate is also the button for jump off the ledge.
Oh no.
And it's context specific, so I'm going to take it a little slower than I normally would here. Because if you jump off in front of one of these archers, they immediately spot you and you fail the mission and go back to the start of the mission. So there's basically no leeway at all for being spotted in this mission. And fun fact, the devs originally wanted to put a timer on this mission too, but had to pull it during development. Oh, by the way, shout out to the devs, because they are awesome. They talk to us all the time about the game, they promote speedruns, they are really awesome about this kind of stuff, so, you know, shout out to them. Okay, we now have our army. The game's going to tell us to activate our orcs. We're going to blow up this. We're going to teleport to this fire. We're going to count how many orcs are dead in a few moments. 22, that's all of them. Okay. And we'll move on to the next objective while we talk.
Someone chat's asking, how often do you run into a captain that just has upsides with no weaknesses in the run?
Early game, not that much, but late game, it is very. It's probably going to happen this run, to be honest. Late game, it is just because we're so low level. They just have so many upsides compared to us. So this is our first captain, not this guy. This guy is unfortunately going to die. This is Bruce, and there's a joke in my chat about him having the only Australian accent, and that all Australians sound like this guy. But surprise, surprise, he is not the same voice actor as the Finding Nemo shark.
I mean, there's more than one Australian voice actor?
There is more than one Australian voice actor. Despite the fact they all put this accent on, there is more than one. So here what we're going to do is we're going to blow up this barrel first. And this barrel, the screen will stop shaking for me, please. Thank you. And then we're going to go into the picture box. So our goal here is to dominate Bruce. You can avoid his voice lines, but Olags, which is the type of enemy he is the big one, we cannot keep them really stunned outside of fire. So it is very hard to actually avoid their voice lines. So we're probably going to get his in a second.
So it's like possible to avoid the voice lines in this fight, just really difficult?
It is. So far we're doing pretty well. We're about to break Bruce as well in a second, so might have actually done it. We'll see if we get attacked here. Okay, so how it works is the orcs are designed to immediately attack us as soon as we start channeling on someone like this. So, and we did actually avoid the voice lines for Bruce, so that's great. That's pretty rare to happen. And now we have our first captain dominated. This is just a bunch of menuing telling you how to explain how to set up an assault on the fort.
But what is most crucial for
And before we do that, before we start setting that up, we've got one more mission to go, and that is Khan's Bane. And this used to be one of the worst missions in the game. However, thankfully, we've got some nice routing now where we have Elven Rage for this mission, and it makes it an absolute cakewalk.
What creature haunts this forest?
So this is basically like a beast fight. We have to fight all three types of beasts, and especially the Grog, the second beast that we have to fight, was an absolute nightmare because it's a poison Grog, which means it removes all our focus and does damage to us over time.
I take it this is the work.
When it hits us, and it was just an absolute nightmare. But thankfully, we now have Elven Rage, thanks to, I believe, Gannis Ultima, the old world record holder before me. Back when I held it, Kaiser holds it now. He was the one who figured out this routing change, so which was great.
They hear her song.
That's the last one there. And again, we just use the Wraith World Duel occasionally just to make sure we know exactly where we're going for objectives. So what we're doing is we're fighting Kana, who is sort of like, I don't exactly know what she is in the Lord of the Ring universe, but she's like a nature god style creature. So this Karagor is always very simple. Round attack at once. Arrow. 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 And unfortunately my arrows were low damage, so they didn't kill it, but that's okay, we can just use the execute there. I'm going to grab in the center, and this is what used to be the hardest part of this fight. Fighting this Grog. And this used to be absolutely torturous, and it could take over a minute at some points. And it's dead.
I had an idea that was coming, but that's still very fast.
because we have time now to reposition ourselves, we can get ourselves in the perfect position, which is just by this fern, to snipe this, hopefully snipe this dragon out of the air. So dragons will fall out of the air if they've still got their mouth open when they're breathing, which is very quick, and then we can immediately execute it with the might we got from the Grog, and that is the entire fight done. So this dragon also used to be very painful, but thankfully it's very, very consistent now to do that. Okay. So we're going to level up again, grab some abilities here. Level 12, that's good. That's a good level to be at this point. 13 would be nice, but we'll take 12. We're going to do a quick gear check here. Brilliant, legendary, a little more HP. That's all good. No new rings. Okay, so this is where most runs come to die. This mission right here. We don't have an actual objective, but our objective is to build an army to invade the fort. And what that means is we need to dominate 3 captains. Now, domination of captain can only happen if they're at your level or lower. And as we said before, we're speedrunning, so we're going to be a lot lower level than the majority of the captains. And yeah, so what we need to do is actually fight them once. We shame them, which lowers them down to our level, and then we have to go and find them in the world and fight them again. Ideally, we can technically find captains our level, but the level range starts at 11 for this zone and goes up to, I believe, 26. So we're very unlikely to find captains our level. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick look at the missions. That's a Grog hunt, that's no good. Ghoul hunt, that's no good. That's an outpost. I'm looking for an execute, and if I don't find an execute, what instead I'm going to do is we're going to go for a backup strat here, where we're going to go find a worm, and we're going to go kill a Warchief. Warchiefs will always have multiple captains around them. So we're going to say, what does this Warchief have? 2 guys, 2 guys. So that's not great. He is clumsy, flammable, and beast fodder. So he is good enough to go for.
So if you wind up shaming 3 captains, is it ever a situation where you shame more, or you just have to find those 3 captains even if they're really far out of the way?
I stood for you.
I'm sorry, I was distracted by this. This shouldn't happen, but this is a glitch that happens, and I'm actually going to ignore this captain, because this is a leftover from the game that I deleted, and for some reason occasionally the junk stays, and a captain that I've never seen before, who was meant to be on my side, has now betrayed me. That is a glitch, and we don't allow the use of that because it is really rare and not fun. I'm sorry, your question was, do we ever shame more? Not normally. Occasionally there might be a situation where we shame 4 captains just to make sure that we're going to get 3, in case one of them is really far away if they're all together. But for the most part, we don't normally shame more than what we need.
Yeah, I assume during the course of normal runs you just shame 3, and if you can't find them quickly, that's just a reset sort of thing?
Normally, actually, if we're really resetting heavy, we would look for captains who are our level, or look for a mission type called execution, which means that the captains are already at the point where we can shame them or take them to our side because they're being executed as traitors. And then we would usually, if we're going for a world record, we would reset at that point. So okay. That's if you're just going for a record. Here I'm just basically doing missions until Captain spawns. There he is there.
Anyone that's good against these clubs, they were fairly away.
So we know he's flammable. That's his weakness that we're going to try to abuse here. We're not going to use the Karagor because we don't want to actually kill him. Oh my golly gosh, that is so lucky. So that's a condition where he is actually afraid of me. That is very, very, very rare. And he is terrified of the Grave Walker. That's his weakness. So he will run as soon as the Grave Walker comes, and he is instantly able to be shamed down. Yep. So we now shame him. That brings him down to level probably 8. Yep, 8. And so we have to now go find him again. And unfortunately, during that period, our Warchief died, so we're going to have to find a third captain. That's all good. And when a Warchief dies, their captain's always terrified. But now we are 13, so we can actually take this guy. So this has been really, actually relatively, outside of the Warchief dying, this has been really good RNG.
Yeah, that's 2 really quick resolutions. Is that just the fire just did so much damage to him that he just happened to die?
Yeah. We're going to summon our Karagor. We're going to go find this guy. We're going to ignore the level 20 guy because he shouldn't exist. Still not exactly sure what causes that glitch. Where is he on the map, actually? He's over there. No, it's still faster for me to run than use another glitch to fast travel in combat. So there is a way we can actually fast travel in combat, and you actually switch your character skin, which forces you back to a fast travel spot and allows you basically to fast travel in combat.
That's very silly.
But we don't need. It's very strange, but we don't need to use that here. Oh wow! Oh my word!
Oh my god!
So this is just an RNG. This captain has decided to fight me.
And he's low enough level that you can dominate him.
Oh, and then we lost the RNG. So this is a forced cutscene that the game tries to explain to you how to operate your captains. It randomly happens after you take your first captain. But unfortunately, during in-game cutscenes, the orcs still have control. And so that captain is now retreating away from me, because I'm no longer a targetable object in the world. So he's now run away. But we do know we can find him now in the future.
Oh, that
sucks. The game
sucks.
is basically... So the game give and the game take away. So as you can see, that captain... Oh, he's still on the map. Can I get to him before he despawns? He's still on the map. That normally he would have respawned, but it looks like he climbed a cliff and got stuck on there for a moment. So as long as I can... Yep, I'm going to be able to fight him. That's great.
So, good luck, bad luck, good luck.
Yep. So we still have to get him down to the broken state. And since he's retreating, he's going to constantly try to run away from us. No. Oh. You, please.
I thought he went through the floor for a second.
He did actually, and then he spawned back up. So that's great. We were able to grab him. This is honestly, this would be close to a world record pace. Probably a little bit behind. If this guy was level 13, this would be perfect. We're actually going to ignore him since I have to shame him and refight him anyway. And we know the guy we're going to is immediately going to terrify of me, and we can instantly capture him. So it'll be quicker to actually, even though that guy's right there, it'll be quicker still to run for this guy.
Kaiser is freaking out in chat over the RNG, by the way.
Yep, I can imagine. This is nearly the best RNG you can have in this game. The only better RNG would be to have all three, to have 3 captains with that Warchief and have them all 1 level lower. But outside of that, this is perfect. So he is not the one we're actually looking for, but he's 13. So we're going to do. Okay, we're just going to hop off this rock. So this isn't the orc we actually shamed in the first place, but he's a level 13 orc. Who is unfortunately enraged. So when he's enraged...
He's gonna take a bite out of you so big.
Wow. Kaiser, hi by the way. This RNG seed is the best I've had in a very long time. So I'm going to try to capture this guy, but the captain is probably going to interrupt us here. Yep. So we might try to stun this captain. If we can. Stun you. Please don't die. Please don't die to the fire. And there we go. So we have all 3 of our captains now. That was super, super fast. This is faster than I've had in probably 80 plus runs, I want to say. So we're actually going to get out of here now. And we're going to use the skin trick here. So I'm just going to equip a different skin. Normally that fast travels me. I will try a different one. And there we go.
So what happened there that was good luck? Just another captain showing up that's the right level?
Just another captain that's the right level that was showing up. There is nothing else, unfortunately, that we can control. That's just all good luck. Oh, I'm on the wrong Hadia. I was wondering why this didn't look right. Sometimes when you use the fast travel glitch, it'll actually take you to a Hadia you don't own, which is really strange. We haven't found a way to make that save us time yet, but we're still investigating it. So now what we're doing is we're actually just running around and waiting for Bruce to show up again. I'm going to head to a point where there are 3 loading planes on the map and try to run between them to force him to spawn, because this mission here is the one we need, but it is not unlocked until Bruce gives us his lecture 3 times.
Oh my goodness.
One lecture already.
How you going,
Here's the second one.
Yourself another hanger-on, have ya? You'll have a proper army in no time. But you got to remember.
And this is the game, essentially. This is the last of the tutorial bits. And this is the game, essentially, explaining all the different things you can do with commanders under your control. You can make them your bodyguard, you can send them to kill other orcs, or you can send them to be a spy for a warchief.
To keep the target's weaknesses in mind. If he's terrified of fire, there's nothing funnier than sending someone to clobber him with a fire weapon. Oh, that's proper music, that is.
So we will grab anyone that's not our current bodyguard, and we'll tell him to go kill this guy. Okay. Doesn't matter, we're never going to complete that mission. We just need to do that. So,
How you going, boy?
right where I am is where the loading planes, where the loading planes intersect, and so we're able to spawn Bruce quite quickly, which is handy because it's right near the actual next fight we have to go to anyway. The next mission.
Bodyguard unless he's proved himself. And the place to do that is in the fight pits. How does surviving a few rounds make it trustworthy? No idea. But it's a bloody good laugh. And you'd be a drongo to trust an orc anyway, so it all works out. Go on, have a go.
And yes, drongo is a real Australian, I can't think of the word, I'm sorry.
Slang?
Slang, thank you. So there appears to be no Warchief there, but there is actually one there. His body just didn't spawn in the menu. So here we're doing our first siege. We're going to grab our followers and we're going to head into the siege. We're not going to buy any upgrades here because we're actually going to save our money for the very last siege, the one that's very hard, and then we're going to spend all of our money upgrading our siege capacity. And drongo for the Australian slang is kind of like the word idiot. You're a drongo, you're an idiot kind of thing. So, and if people are wondering why I'm now an elf lady, it is because I used the skin glitch to fast travel, and I switched to Atariel's skin. And we've seen her already in the run very briefly, but we'll see a lot more of her later. And since this is the last time I'm going to be switching skins, we're actually probably going to complete the run as Atariel, which leads to a funny few moments where she ends up talking to herself face to face. But with this skin, it doesn't change the voice either, so I'll have Callian's voice coming out of Atariel's mouth, and it will look very strange.
As it a case, he said, you're all gonna die horribly. Yeah, my kind of black.
I will handle the Overlord. You focus on the defenders.
Define focus.
That's weird.
It is weird. So we're not going to summon our Carador straight away because we did end up killing a Warchief during the mission. So the chances are that this capture point here is going to have no captains or Warchiefs on it. It's not. So this is a King of the Hill style capture. Like pretty much all the other situations, we don't want to be using special abilities if we can avoid it, because the capture does not happen while we're executing or setting people on fire. The only The only condition where we want to do that is if there are too many orcs around here, or if we're still fighting captains or warchiefs on the point, because they will slow down capture. So that's why I'm constantly clearing orcs here, even though it's just spawning more. If there are a set number on the capture point, it will slow down the capture. And Bruce is going to teleport from there over to here into the next
Ripper
cutscene.
gear this lot has. Maybe I'll pick up a sword for myself. I could use a new toothpick.
Pick your teeth later. Right now we need to
We'll now go to the second point. Where is the Where is the Warchief? Okay, that's interesting. So that wasn't a visual glitch. The Warchief is gone. I'm not sure why, but that has happened to me twice before, and I've never been able to explain it. There should be a Warchief here waiting for me to fight him.
This just saves time.
This saves time, but I wish I could explain this one for you, but I don't know why this happens. It's very, very rare, but occasionally the Warchief just fails to load. So when you're capturing these kind of forts, you have two objectives. You have to kill all of the Warchiefs, and you have to take these capture forts. So the fact that we don't have to kill the Warchief first means as soon as we capture this, we'll be able to confront the Overlord.
The game just
So
knows that about halfway through the run you're going to be taking a break, and it's just giving you all the good RNG because
I think so.
it knows it's not going to count.
What have I unleashed?
His potential is nearly.
It's pretty rude, actually.
Very rude of it. I would kill for this kind of run when I'm actually streaming. So, but that's okay. So this is where we're meant to fight the Overlord. However, in the first fort, we actually know the Overlord from the first game, and it's Ratbag. He's an awesome NPC. Unfortunately, we don't see enough of him in this game, but it means we don't have to fight the Overlord. We come out here and do our big victory speech. And I did look into ways of skipping this speech, but unfortunately the game, even by like crashing the game, but the game doesn't register you've captured the fort until you assign a fort overlord, and it does it after this speech. So there's no way for us to skip this very long speech that happens 4 times in the game.
Mordor belongs to you! Mordor belongs to the Bright Lord!
So we now own this region. And we need to pick an overlord. I'm going to grab a spearman. And the only reason I grab a spearman there, I would grab an archer if they're available, is in a moment we have to do a pit fight. And it randomly selects one of our orcs to be the pit fighter.
We should upgrade our defenses before
And
Sauron
if it's the orc who's got a bow, they are really slow at fighting in the pit. And they end up wasting 40 to 50 seconds. This is Ratbag, by the way. This is from the first game. And apologies about the dialogue talking over the top of each other. It's part of because we're going fast. And what he's doing here is explaining a feature which was removed from the game. He's explaining the in-game cash shop, which thankfully was removed by the games, by the devs. Because that used to be part of the speed run before I ran the run, and it was not very pleasant to have a cash shop be part of the run. So I'm very glad it's been removed.
Was it
But
like
this speech is now redundant.
you'd use the free stuff they gave you and hope you got something good from the cash shop, and then if you didn't, it was reset, sort of thing?
You would actually buy captains from the cash shop for real money to skip having to recruit them.
Oh my god.
So very glad that's gone. Okay, please jump. Thank you. Occasionally they get caught on lips, but that's been removed. So the devs listened to the feedback, which was great, and removed it. And this is the pit fight. My hands are up. I've got no control over this. This can go for 10 seconds, or I've had one run that has gone for 3 minutes. It's gone into overtime. And it was terrible. And we have no control over this.
You're always bringing in tough orcs to fight, and if your fella survives, he'll be stronger for the experience. If he snuffs it, well, the one who done him in has what it takes, so there's a potential new recruit. And however it shakes out, your boys will love watching the show. Nothing boosts morale up like bodies
So
laying down.
this is part of the online situation as well. If you play this game online, you can actually do pit fights here and put your orcs against other people's orcs. Ideally, we want our orc to win, but we also just want whoever's going to be fastest. So we want our orc to win for something that we're going to use a little later, which I'll explain when we get to it. But ideally, the more people we have alive, the better later on.
So even if your guy loses, but he loses fast, that's fine.
That's fine. It's ideal if he wins, but yep, my guy won, so that's great. Fast is better than waiting 2.5 minutes to save one orc.
Laughs were had, blood was shed, and grog was drunk. Ah, there's no fight like a pit fight.
Okay, so we've got a few more missions before the break. This is now, the game is now out of tutorial mode, is what we call it. It's now opening up all the other regions that we can go to in the game, and basically allowing us to have a bit of free reign. We have a pretty specific route we do, obviously for speed, and we never visit this zone, ever. Because it's not a mandatory zone, it's part of one of the DLCs. Okay, everything's unlocked now. We can go into our character, we can grab this ability, which is really important for the next part. Grab Faith and Might. Do a very quick inventory check. Yep. We've got a red gem, which increases our weapon damage when it's inserted there. That's fine, nothing else is new. So, where is it? Kanan's Bane, there it is. Now we're going to travel to the final zone of the game and do one mission before coming back. So to trigger the next mission in Nirn, we actually have to go out into the world and do a single mission and then come back. It just so happens that this is the best one to do because it means we only ever have to travel to this zone twice. And this is a pretty iconic zone for anyone who is a Lord of the Rings fan, because we can all guess what that mountain is directly in front of me. That is Mount Doom, where the ring was eventually destroyed in the movies. Sorry for the spoiler, but the movies are over 20 years old, so I think I'm okay.
The books are even older.
They are. We're going to get off our mount here and grab this worm. Since he's here, there's a thing. Oh, that is unfortunate. He is an Olag, which means we can't do the Caragor trick on him, which means that changes the route that we're going to do at the very end of the game. He's the second last person we're going to kill. And unfortunately, him being an Olag is just bad RNG, but nothing we can control, so it's all good.
At this
All
point,
it means is that at this point, yeah, we're going so well.
at this point, Kaiser's in chat is like, dang, something finally went against you.
The reason why we want that guy not to be an Olag is so we can kill him with the Caragor trick, and we can save our Elven Rage for the final Nazgul. But we're going to have to use Elven Rage on him, and then not have Elven Rage available for a Nazgul. But that's alright. It usually happens at this point. So this is... Did not mean to grab that cage. All good. This is a mission where they are trying to attempt to resurrect a Balrog. Sorry, not resurrect it. Bring it into the world. Having a hammer here is always annoying. That shot is really difficult to pull, and I don't think I did it correctly. No, he's still alive. There we go. Excellent.
What controls the hammer versus using arrows?
It's basically just equipment that we get. So we got a hammer to replace our bow. This is really good RNG that Zog is dazed here, because Zog's opening line is incredibly long. We cannot avoid his closing line. Well, technically we can, but it breaks the entire game. We actually have to listen to his closing line, which is his closing line right here.
I will wake all the dead of Mordor before we're done. All the lives you ended.
Everyone's just very patiently waiting for us to finish talking to Zog before they continue attacking us here, which is nice.
Oh yes.
Very nice of them.
We'll meet again.
And Zog says we'll meet again, and that is the last time in this run we'll see Zog. So, kill all of his disciples. actually going to kill this Caragor for extra Elven Rage. Now, I am going to spend a few seconds before jumping in the pit to kill a few more minions here to get my Elven Rage up. You are this way. That is not enough. Do I have any more orcs left? There are a few over here that I will go for. So what I'm doing is just getting my Elven Rage, because there is a huge, despite the fact how long it takes us to do this, to walk around and kill these guys individually, it still saves a ton of time in the fight. So Balrog is immune to damage. Is that my Elven Rage? I'll just kill one more just to be safe, because sometimes it can look like it's full even when it's not. Okay, yep, that's full now, and we'll jump into the pit. So the Balrog is meant to be completely immune to damage here. However, for some reason there is a couple of windows. There's a few little window of opportunity where we can actually damage him with Elven Rage. And doing so skips an entire part of this fight. So you'll see this here. He'll be thrown back. He will stand up and he will Elven Rage. And you can see there his health is going down. Despite the fact it really we shouldn't be able to do any damage to him at all until his weak spots are open. Perfect. So I'm going to go into the Wraith world here because my eyes, I find it easier in my eyes to see when his weak spots are open. Oh, get out of the way please, hand. Oh, there we go. I dislike hammers. Hammers are, at least from my perspective, hammers are much less accurate than arrows. Unfortunately, the hammer is the best range weapon we have, so we just kind of have to use it at this point.
I wonder how much of that is because of the like throw animation instead of letting go of the arrow like instantly.
Yeah, I think that is sort of the idea. We're not 100% sure, but hammers are useful for other things. They give us another way to knock down captains, which lets us Caragor donk them as well from range. Because the Caragor donk only needs a captain to be knocked down, and it needs a captain to basically be on the ground and have our might full. That's the only conditions for doing the Caragor donk. So having a hammer is also nice because it gives us another way to knock captains down. So here we are chasing Caragor off, and we are meant to do this entire fight scene up in this next section. And it takes roughly about 2 minutes to complete. Where we're meant to fight, and we're controlling the Grog that we're on, and we're fighting against. However, the game's just like, oh, Tiger off is at low HP, good job, you did it. You've obviously gone through the entire fight, and instantly moves us to phase 3 where we get to basically finish the fight. So there should be a 2-minute fight scene here, where we're controlling the Grog, but yeah, we skip all of that, thankfully. Can I do this with a hammer? Yes. Okay. Brilliant. And that's the end of the Balrog fight.
And this mission was just done because it's the fast one you can do and you have to do one mission, or?
It also has to be done. We have to complete all of the King and Bane quests to unlock the final fight. So, and it's because the only other reason we'd ever come back to Gorgoth, and we can do other missions in other zones. So this quest chain continues on. Map and fast travel. This quest chain continues on in other zones, and it lines up so that when we're in the snow zone next time, we'll actually line up and have the next set of King and Bane's missions there ready to go. So it kind of lines up in 2 different ways.
Nice.
Okay. After this mission, we will be taking the break. Actually, level 15, so we can go character, and we can grab Talon Strike, which is my favourite ability of the game, because we can now dash without a target while we're in the air. And that's unlocked at level 15, so we couldn't get that beforehand. So this is a fort defense. You do them a couple of times in sort of the new game plus mode, which is the Shadow Wars, which is done after the main section of the game. But you only ever do it once in the any % run, and this is right now. And there's a little bit of bad RNG again, this guy being a Olag, but all good. We will still be able to fight him quite quickly. I'm just checking to make sure I can see him on fire, which I can. And if you're looking at my might now and wondering why it's building so much faster now when I'm sword swinging, I actually took a talent, I did not explain that, I do apologise, about, it is a talent that increases my might by double when I swing. However, if I'm hit, or I miss an attack, it completely resets my might now. So it's sort of one of those high reward, high skill talents, and it's very, very useful for the speedrun, as you can see. I'm just getting... please let me attack you. I'm getting a lot of fights. Now we could shame this guy and get rid of him. However, if we shame him, he has a very high chance to show up in the Sauron fight at the end. And we don't want that. So we're actually just going to kill him. Because that will almost guarantee he won't come back. Technically, Olags can cheat death. Or any captain can cheat death and come back as like a injured version of themselves. But for the most part, he won't be back, so that's why we kill him rather than shaming. Even though shaming would be a bit faster, it would mean we'd have to fight him again in Sauron. Again, we just pick people up, chop them in half with a Caragor donk. And we hope that this guy over here is not an Olag. What are you? You are not an Olag, but you might be beast-proof because he's on a beast. So beast-proof is the other condition where we cannot use the Caragor donk, because what it instead does is make it so instead of me instantly killing him, he instantly kills my Caragor. And he teleported over the fence. Okay.
What the heck?
So I interrupted his climbing animation with my attack animation. Oh, that's unfortunate. So he didn't kill, but he wasn't considered on the ground when I went for the donk. So now I actually have to go in and look for... I cannot run over my own people to generate might, so I need to look for his orcs to run over and build up my might. I can technically run him over and over again. Oh, he has a fear of execution, that's good to know. But it is very, very slow because I've... Oh, that guy is not having a good day.
What in the world?
So he's caught in the ground and he's ragdolling. So the game's just trying to put him back into position, and he's now been fixed. But yeah, it's much quicker because I have to wait for him to get up each time before running him back over and building might. It's much quicker for me just to go outside. Okay. And there's the donk on that guy. 3 more people. Kill. So we get our second wave of spawns. We don't care that Ranger over there is bleeding out because he is a quest vital NPC, so he will not die regardless of how long he bleeds out for. Okay, what are you? You're an Olag. You're not an Olag, so we'll ignore the Olag till the very end. Don't you go on that wall. Good orc. He got on the wall. Oh, no, he didn't. Cool. So we can donk him. If they get on the wall, we can't interrupt their climbing animation, and we have to wait for them basically to climb to the top, and it's really, really slow. So we'll ignore that Olag, and we'll go for this guy over here. My archer's being too efficient in killing people. So he's climbing, so I can build up my might. And this actual fight will look very different if we could get to level 16 before this. Because at level 16, we're going to get one of the most OP abilities in the game in terms of the speedrun. Unfortunately, Caragors really like to climb when they're near walls, so I'm going to have to wait for this guy. Oh, that's good RNG. He died to my captains. So I don't have to kill that Olag.
Oh, the Olag just died. Nice.
Yep. So, as you can see, Caragors really are sticky. And I'm just going to have to wait for this guy to move. Yep, thank you. Caragors love to climb. And it is very frustrating. And he interrupted me knocking him over with a different animation. So at this point, we're just going to throw hammers at him. And actually, he's a good candidate to send to the Sauron fight. So I'm going to do that. So what I mean by that is when we shame an orc, they have a really high chance to come back at the very end of the game and to get like revenge on us in the Sauron fight. And he will come back as a level 15 orc. So that is really good. Oh, one of my non-quest essential orcs is bleeding out. So I'm going to bring him back up. And we're just about to finish this mission, so we'll take a break in a few seconds. We're just going to quickly dash up here.
Yeah, just let me know when to pause the timer.
Yep. And we'll do it when we get out of this mission, so let me know in a few seconds. Out of Elven Shot, so I can't dash anymore. It does cost an arrow to do those dashes, and it consumes my focus as well, so that's okay. We're going to get to the fort. Thankfully, we've saved the fort, and then Bruce goes ahead and betrays us.
Shocking.
So he kills us. Luckily, we're a Grave Walker, we're undead, we can't actually be killed, but Bruce now takes control of our fort, and this is a good time to take a break.
Alright. So for people new to Hotfix, especially for these longer runs, we like to promote healthy behavior. We do these wellness breaks. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick ad break, take a few minutes, encourage everybody to get up, get some water, stretch. I'm going to do the same thing once we go to break as well. And of course, this is just good to be in the habit of as a channel because of might wind up being required in the future. So just as a quick reminder, we're going to be playing a few ads during this break. If you are subscribed, you won't see the ads. So if you've got Prime Gaming sitting around, you can throw that over here, and you won't be able to see the ads. And Hotfix is funded in part thanks to your subscriptions and bits, and we'd really appreciate it if you consider subscribing otherwise. But we'll be back in just a few minutes with the second half of this run. We're just going to take a quick break, and then we'll finish out the run after that. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Community Spotlight. We took a quick wellness break there. I hope you all got up, got some water, stretched, or just took a moment to catch your breath. We're going to be returning with the second half of our speed run of Middle-earth Shadow of War here. And you good to go, Raikon?
I am good to go, thank you very much.
All right, why don't you give me a countdown?
Absolutely. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So, where we left off last time on Shadow of War, Bruce just betrayed us, and we're immediately going to go and take our fortress back. So, Celebrimbor is understandably very upset, and we now have the ability to teleport dash. Whenever we're in the air, it consumes an arrow and a little bit of focus to do so. But we're now level 16, and I'm going to show you in a second, we now get to rank up the strongest ability in the game. This one here. And what it allows us to do is it allows us to use our Caragor's health as a might resource instead of building might. Ooh. So as you can imagine, the Caragor is already fairly broken, and we are now able to use its health as a resource instead. So what we're doing here is we are freeing our captured Olags. And this is the second part of bringing over our save from Shadow of Mordor, sorry. This orc here, the one that's tied up, I'm just about to go to him in a second, that one over there, is my greatest follower from Shadow of Mordor. And he has a high chance to bring a Caragor into the Bruce fight, because he's a Beastmaster, and that gives us access to a Caragor where we really shouldn't have access to a Caragor. So that'll be in a second here. Oh, you're stuck on a table. I can't execute you. You're stuck on a table too. Alright. Knock him down with the hammer. And he's not a bad orc, actually, for us to take. So we're going to bring him into our service. That's not just to get rid of him, that's actually for I wouldn't say a glitch, but an unintended side effect of the removal of the cash shop. And I'll go into that a little bit more in a sec when I actually start using that. Just have to clean up these last guards here. Sometimes they get cleaned up by the orcs, sometimes we have to do the cleaning ourselves. Excellent. So our hope here is that a Caragor is brought into this fight because we cannot get a Caragor otherwise. They have a Caragor, which means that we can get it. Which is great.
Welcome back, boss. So what was the plan? Rescue your boys, bring them here for some kind of reckoning? You even brought along that little shrug-stained rat bag. Well, tell you what, I've got some friends too, me. Yeah, we can have a real party, a right shindig, yeah?
And I believe shindig is another Australian
a few fun party
colloquialism.
Yeah,
It means
more,
party.
yeah, that one's more like universal. Gets
Yeah,
used
I wasn't
here
sure
a
if it
little
was universal or not. But let us go and grab this Caragor. Get off your mount, please, sir. No, you're not off your mount. That's not great. I don't want to kill this Caragor. Special ability of that guy. I'm going to try to get this guy off one more time. It's not going well. If not, then we're just going to give up. No, he's refusing to get off his Caragor, and unfortunately it's going to die. Alright, so I actually got killed here, but we have a chance. This is the last chance system, and it allows you basically to recover from death. So I'm going to ignore that Caragor now, unfortunately. It's just a little bit too risky to continue going for it, and it's dead anyway at this point. The ability to freeze people will set everyone on fire. And we finally triggered some lines. So if we're lucky, they're all going to give us their lines together, and they do get progressively faster the more orcs that speak at once. Like this. So this is a semi-fast line, and then the next one should be really fast, if there is any. Fortunate. So we may get another set of lines after this. We're going to grab this guy. Converting over to our side, and he's going to start fighting for us now in this pit fight. I believe there is one of my guys bleeding out over there. That's fine. He's not actually bleeding to death, so he must be a context-sensitive NPC. Fight you there. Yep, I'm going to trigger that trap, unfortunately. Okay. And so Bruce has now dropped to 50% HP, which means he runs away. And that's the last time we see Bruce for this speedrun. So there is actually a category that we've been sort of talking about but haven't yet introduced called Breaking Bruce, where you actually go and finish the Bruce questline and end up breaking him and turning him into a shriveling mess. But we haven't finished figuring out exactly what that will entail, so it's not a real category yet, but one day there'll be a speed run outside of 100% that includes Bruce.
So sort of a fun side category kind of deal?
Yeah, it's kind of, I think it's going to be the category we run if we run into bad RNG at the recruitment split. So I don't think it's going to be a permanent category. Oh.
No.
Okay, so this is bad RNG. So this is a captain's ability called Death Defiance, which, as you can probably imagine, it's pretty self-explanatory. If we kill them the first time, they get back up and fight again. I'm going to go rescue this guy. Cool. I believe there's another one that's bleeding out. Yeah.
Back to the fridge.
May as well grab you up. And we don't mind if they just sit there and bleed and not actually bleed out, which is the red bar around. And I think we're just going to shame this guy. He's too high level for us to take. So he'll probably come back again at the Sauron fight, but he'll be nice and low. Oh, and we broke him. So he's now a deranged mob, which means his voice lines and everything else about him will change next time we see him. He'll probably end up screaming or saying something at us. And that is that section done.
Is that similar to like Drunk, where it's going to be likely to be a fast voice line?
Yeah, so it'll be a very fast voice line, but it also does Depends on the voice line. It can hurt your ears as well, because sometimes it's just a very loud scream as a voice line. Also, this is my favourite cutscene in the game, because if anyone has a toddler or seen a toddler chuck a hissy fit, these arm movements here are exactly what a toddler does.
My enemies will find no weakness.
Oh my god.
Mercy. Only the
You're so right.
And it is my favourite cutscene because that's a 1,000-year-old undead elf chucking a hissy fit, and it is just brilliant. I love it.
Somebody's asking about the DLC character. I believe that's just a skin change.
It's just a skin change. If it makes it easier, I can switch back. It only loses about 6 seconds.
No, it's fine. Just people are curious.
Yeah, it's just a skin change, and we use the glitch. So what we're actually going to do here is we're going to start packing away our orcs, if we have enough money for them all. Oops, cannot be given a training order, so we'll put this Warchief. So what we're doing here is we're actually packing them into the inventory that you have that's left over from the cash shop. And what we can do later in the game is we can redeploy these orcs in a different zone. And so what we're going to do is we're going to save all of these orcs up. And we've got quite a few here. Normally you only get sort of 4 or 5 here, so that's great. And we save them all up. And when they're like that and they can't be moved, you simply make them a Warchief. And then they can be moved again. And what happens is we can dump them all at once into the very last zone in the game. And they actually, when there's too many captains in the zone, they'll actually kill the captains in that zone to take their positions. And so you have level 10 to 17 orcs insta-killing captains who are in their mid-30s. And it is very, very quick. And that is all of our captains. Let's take a look at our inventory. That's fine. We have a bow, that's great. Ring. And that doesn't matter at all. Okay, so now it is time for Frozen Flame. And it is the first time we get to go to Saragost. This is the only other zone we'll travel to. We won't be traveling, well, we'll be traveling back to the zones we've already been, but this will be the last of the new zones we go to.
That's quite a fort.
We'll take their fort and their treasures.
So here we're just moving towards the next quest objective. I'm going to grab our Caragor. Where are you hiding? There you are. So this Caragor's name is Connor, by the way. We get a bigger, badder version of a Caragor, and my chat ended up naming that one Steve. So these are Steve and Connor. The most unassuming names for Caragors, but they are good doggos and they are awesome. So we are just running to a fast travel point. So again, if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer anything at this point, because it is very going through the motions at this point.
The first thing that came to mind there is I wish your chat had named it John instead of Steve, so then you could have John Connor.
That would have been amazing. We actually named Steve before we named Connor, though.
Oh, okay.
Because of the old route we used to take, didn't actually use Connor at all. But we got stuck, but that would have been amazing. Okay. Let's see. Climbing glitch there, where you get stuck on objects occasionally and can't move. And so this is one of the few other fast travel points we actually take. We use this much later in the run, and it saves around about 2.5 minutes to grab this total.
Someone chat's asking what other games you speedrun.
Nothing at the moment. I am eventually going to start running Shadow of Mordor. That is my plan, but I want to get a sub 3 hour time, which is very difficult in this game. That's my goal before I start looking at Shadow of Mordor. Okay, so this is the continuation of the Targaroth, the Balrog and Kanan saga.
Difficult to find.
So we're now riding Kanan's incarnation down to find the Balrog. And this is a good mission to learn about Caragor controls. They really want to jump up on surfaces, so you have to make sure you've got very good mouse movement here, and trying to avoid surfaces. And we also don't want to jump over rocks, because Caragors are much, much faster when they're on the ground. So there's just a little bit of weaving here that we do. Nothing difficult, but it is a good mission to learn about Carol controls.
Which is the opposite of when you're on foot, because when you get that little
Exactly.
vault over rocks, you gain the move speed bonus.
Yep, so it's the exact opposite. So this is now an on-rails section, on-rails shooter, basically. The Balrog is going to chase us, and we're going to just shoot down some icicles on his face. This was super intense when I first did it casually, but knowing where all the icicles are, the Balrog just doesn't even get close to us here. So he just stays right in the back. That one sometimes doesn't trigger, but that's alright, we don't need it. And he's actually even going to take a shortcut here to try to catch up. He's meant to run that way, but he runs this way just to try to catch up to us. And I am once again going to switch to controller in a few moments. This is a personal preference. I learnt all of the major Drake controls on controller because I used to be a controller only player. So it's really preference here. It's not. There's no fast or slowness for using controller over keyboard or mouse at this point. Now it's time to fight the Balrog, which is a very simple fight. This is the spin animation that we want to see. This is the animation we want to see because that's what moves him into the next phase of his fights after he's done the spin animation. We'll now knock him down. Now I'm going to press buttons on both my keyboard and my controller, so the screen's going to go a bit funky for a little bit. And that's just to get through that section faster, and it gives me control during this little cutscene when I shouldn't have control. Continue breathing ice down on the Balrog. That is the only use of controller we've found so far, and it only saves a couple of seconds if that. So this is a good spin animation. As you can see, I'm not moving the Balrog's health at this point. He has set phases he has to go through, so we can't damage him anymore till we knock him back into the ice and go again.
So when you say that's the only use of the controller, you mean besides just spamming the Elven Rage easier? Like it's the only thing that controller actually can do that's not suitable on keyboard?
Yep. And I'm the only runner who uses a controller as well. The others don't even use a controller, so it's really not mandatory at all. It's just so happened that I played this game casually with a controller and I was so much more used to the controls.
Yep.
So again, we're just going to dive, going to push back. I'm going to spam on both controller and keyboard at the same time. Game really does not like that. And again, I've now got control in this cutscene. You can see me breathing ice down onto him when you shouldn't be able to. Now, if the Balrog's really nice, he'll jump, he will shake, and then he'll start his spin animation. Nope, he's going to just do a random attack at me first. Random attack again, so this is bad RNG, but nothing we can control. That's the shake we want. And now he's going to start his spin attack again.
Is breathing the ice early just so that the moment he becomes vulnerable it starts hitting him, or?
That's it. That's basically it. And it's also so he's immediately at the next point in health, so we're able to move on quicker. One thing I didn't mention, which I probably should have, you've probably heard me spamming my keyboard as soon as the mission's done. I'm actually hitting escape and space together, and that has a chance to skip that mission complete. We don't know what really triggers it or why, but the game just sometimes skips the mission complete animation if you spam escape and spacebar together. Oops. So this is now going way back to the start of the game when we were helping the humans. This is now the conclusion to their chain coming up. So we have to rescue 3 guys. Before the reroute, we used to have a really cool route for this mission because we had an ability called Shadow Strike, which lets us teleport directly to orcs. But since the reroute, Caragors have become way more important. And unfortunately, it means that this mission doesn't look as good as it used to. You can still teleport to the ground there, but it used to look very smooth, and we loved it. But the sacrifices we make for speed sometimes.
Yeah, it's always sad when you lose a really flashy strat just because it's not as fast.
Yeah.
The Uruks use our soldiers as blades.
So we're just going into the caves here, and we're just rescuing more Uruks. Sorry, not Uruks. Rescuing more humans from the Uruks.
Some weeks we lose as many as we rescue.
You can see there that guy tried to interrupt me, but I positioned myself correctly so that the guy tied to the post actually took the axe. Because the Oryx are designed, as soon as we start cutting someone, they are designed to throw an axe at me. And if you position yourself just correctly... Oh, why can't I teleport? Let's move this way a little bit. There we go. If you position yourself just right there, you're able to get the guy on the post to absorb the axe, which is probably a bad day for him.
Yeah, it's like you're supposed to be rescuing the guy, but he's face tanking axes for you.
So again, he just face tanked the axe then. So that was great. And, oh, bad RNG. But that's okay. This guy can be low enough level for us to actually take him. But, like everything with this game, there is a lot of RNG here. So I'm not going to go for an execute. We're going to stun him first. To avoid his lines. This guy is fairly consistent at avoiding his lines nowadays. And if they will let us, we're going to use an ability here. He's going to chain him. So that's actually a combat ability we gained earlier on. Normally we use it at the recruiting step, however my recruiting step was so good that I didn't end up using it. And that just allows us to use our might to instantly shame or instantly dominate someone. This guy will tank an axe for me again. And can I get the swag jump? Didn't get it. There's a 2-second time save there where you get a swag jump and you immediately teleport to the end of the mission, but a little bit tricky to get. Okay. Oh, that's bad RNG, but we'll have to deal with that. So here we're looking for another worm. We need to know what the Overlord is going to have. As we've never been to this zone before, we don't know what the Overlord is. And Beast Fodder, that is great. That is really good. So that means we can use the Caragor Donk on him. Okay, and we'll just progress to the next mission, which is I believe, the final mission in the Human Saga of this game, which is one of the clear conditions for unlocking the final mission, the Bright Lord. So here's our first introduction to Steve, the elite Caragor. The game really expects you to kill him here, so much so that we're not actually going to kill him here and dominate him, and this guy tells us that we've killed his pet. Even though it's standing right next to him. So, this is just a pit fight. We eventually have to end up fighting all these guys regardless. So we just come up here and just use a couple of abilities early just to clear them out in huge chunks. And now we see that Idril is in fact alive. That is the person we've been trying to rescue this whole time. And now we just have to kill a bunch of Orcs until the captain spawns. Okay. And as you can see, they're slowly jumping into the pit, but we've taken care of the majority of them already. Oh, sorry about that, Steve. Didn't mean to give you a tickle. Okay, a few more left up here by the looks of it. That should be everyone. Right, you survived the fire somehow. There we go. Now the captain spawned. 21. Too high for us, unfortunately. So ideally we can take that guy. But yeah, too high. And something dazed him straight off the bat. So that's great RNG. He's just not going to fight back at all. And we don't want to shame him because we... Oh! Very last second we got his opening line. That's all good.
But no matter, for I will transform you into a sacrifice worthy of the Dark Lord himself.
Some people in chat are so impressed by your ability to talk and play at the same time, they're wondering if it's pre-recorded, even though we're telling you them that it's not.
I promise you it's not pre-recorded, and chat, if you want to give me something PG to say, I will happily say the truth.
Oh boy.
I am just a person who loves to talk. My father always loved to talk, and I love to talk, so something I grew up doing.
Yes, that's the problem.
Someone wants you to say these pre-recorded hotfix streams are great.
These pre-recorded hotfix streams are great. There you go. Okay. just as a thing, this is not pre-recorded, but that is a great line to say. Okay, so we're going into this castle with absolutely no backup. Had we been lucky and got the 2 orcs before, and had they been low enough level for us to take, that would have been great. But we're going in here with no backup, but that's okay. Hopefully we'll find some backup in here that we can take.
There were a couple different suggestions, but that one was just clearly the winner.
Here stands the great conquering man! Fresh off his victory at Sharpboard!
Someone's wondering if there's like an all missions category or anything for this game.
We don't have an all missions category. I think that's actually a great category, and that's actually not a bad suggestion. We have 4 main categories. We have the any % Act 1, which we've actually completed during this run. We've got full any %. We've got true ending, which gets, I think it's very close to all missions, but there are a couple of missions you miss, which you get to see the end of basically the resolution of the game, the main game. And then we have 100%, which only one person is insane enough to run, because it is 10.5 hours and a huge routing mess.
Oh my god.
So shout outs to Guinness Ultimate, the old world record holder for any %, who now runs that instead. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a few very long speed runs, but those are RPGs that just have like built-in downtime, you know?
Yeah.
Playing an action-heavy game like this for 10.5 hours sounds very difficult.
Oh. And a Warchief just randomly killed one of his followers. But unfortunately, he interrupted my Caragor donk animation, so that didn't happen. And as you can see here, now that I've got access to the... and that is a Beastmaster. So, I was saying, now I've got access to the Caragor, you can see how easy it is. But unfortunately, he killed my Caragor. We're going to level up while we've got a sec. So I didn't level up at the start of this siege. 2. Cool. 1 level short, but that's okay. So now we have to fight on foot till we get more Caragors. We have to kill this guy before we get more Caragors at this point. Oh, and this is pain with dealing with an enraged person during this. Okay, so we're just going to cleave here, execute this guy. He's very low chance to be death-defying because of the fact that he was a berserker. I think it's not 0, but it's very close to being 0 for a berserker to have death-defying. There is technically berserker tanks, but his body type wasn't right to be a tank type, which is sort of a larger orc. Okay, so we finally break through the first of these points.
Chat is sad about Steve dying.
Steve never dies. Steve just goes for a nap.
Okay.
He will be back very soon, I promise. That is the law that I choose to believe, and that is what I always say, that Steve never dies. Steve just goes for a nap.
Well, clearly you just passed on some of your own Gravewalker attributes to Steve.
That's it. Yeah, Steve is the Caragor Gravewalker.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're really this is the unfortunate bit of not getting a follower. It just takes a little while for us to actually capture these points. We could technically dump a follower from our inventory, but it is a pain. So let's find another Connor. Oh, no, that glitched out. What I shot was meant to summon Caragors. I hit out. That's like a bait to bring Caragors into the map, and then we just start again. And I immediately got a Beastmaster.
Oh my god.
That's okay. There are plenty of other opportunities we have. And this guy is actually low enough level for me to take. So if he doesn't enrage, oh, there's a banner. So these banners enrage everyone around me, and they hit like a truck, even though they're just normal orcs. So as soon as you see those, you have to snipe those out.
Do you have to use an arrow on those? Can you like attack them, or?
You can attack them, but the game doesn't want to target them with the sword. The game kind of does almost like a sticky targeting. Oh, I just sent that guy away. That was the wrong button press. Oh, good. So he's now waiting for me outside the base. So that's okay. It is. You can technically just hit them with a arrow or with whatever, with a sword swing or any abilities, but the game doesn't like to target. So we find it easiest just to pick them off with an arrow.
Because using an arrow also lets you slow time to make it safer too?
Yeah, that is exactly correct. So this is where the sort of the slog comes into it. As you can see, these guys are mainly higher level than me. And it gets to be a little bit of a slog sometimes. But it's all good. We will get there in the end. You've just got to keep your eyes on about 50 different things, all the different captains attacking you, different AoE zone effects. The siege beasts are constantly firing poison bombs into the mix. There's a lot to look at, but I've done it so often I get kind of comfortable. It's when we go to the final fort in the game that I do have a little bit of trouble, just because most of those abilities will one-shot you. No arrows left, that's okay. We'll go around the corner and grab some more. That's another arrow spawn spot. Where are my arrows today? There they are. Wrong corner, that's why. Vault Breaker. So Vault Breaker means I can't flip over them. That's another condition. You can see here, this guy is enraged, and he is just being a right pain, so we're going to hit him with an arrow, kill him off.
I haven't seen Kaiser say anything in a while in chat, but I imagine there's got to be finally the luck is catching up.
Yes, yes. 2 Beastmasters in a row, and they were the ones that the game targets, so he's terrified, that's great, he's running off. I usually have pretty good luck on the recruiting splits. Obviously not as good as what we had today, but it's usually this siege and the final siege where I get my bad luck, whereas Kaiser seems to get his bad luck during the recruiting splits. But that's all good. So like before, I'm just killing orcs here just to make sure this point captures as fast as possible. I didn't send that guy away from before, it would have been faster, but that's not a problem. I'm still having a great time, and this is a great showcase of just all the different things we can do during these points. As long as I'm standing here, it's all good. Okay. Time to grab a couple more Connors out. Nope. Wrong targeting. So, let's... There we go. That's better. That's what we'd like to see, ideally. That guy did not get knocked down. So I'm not sure if it's because he's in his animation or that he's beast immune. So no, he was just in an animation. That's fine. And sometimes their legs do the whirlwind, which is kind of cool.
That was quite a ragdoll.
Yeah. The ragdoll in this game can get pretty crazy. So, one of the other abilities that we don't use that often, I probably won't end up using it in this run unless we do. Caragors can also summon other Caragors when you build up their might for full. Now, as you can imagine, since we can instead use their health for might, technically we can have infinite Caragors. Because we can use their health, summon another Caragor, they die, and then there's a fresh Caragor there. We don't use it that often because it's the Caragor comes out and then everyone starts focus firing it and the Caragor usually dies, but in emergency situations we can grab another Caragor just as our Caragor's about to die. Okay, final. Oh, this has been a very good Saragoss regardless because we've had no Olags. Perfect. Another little ragdoll. Not as bad as the last one, but still kind of hilarious. And we can kind of tell based on these guys' armors that they shouldn't be a problem. Yep. So the different armor types they're wearing kind of dictates whether or not they're a Beastmaster and whether or not they can be knocked out. And that's fine. That's a really solid Saragost.
Your second half of that fortress went way better than their first half.
It did. We'll pick up this. And, oh, no, we don't want that one. We want that one. Cool. And now it's just unfortunately a little more waiting around. We can actually get off Connor here and let him go and be free. So the Caragors that I summon with the meat that's hanging up in the air, they will always be the base level Caragors, the ones we call Connor. And then it's now the ones that I summon are now the elite Caragors, which we call Steve.
Someone's curious about like what exactly does level do besides limiting who you can control? Like, what penalties do you take by fighting people who are higher level than you?
It's really just we have a lot less HP. Gear is based on our level that drops, so it'll always be level appropriate gear. So the gear that will drop here will be somewhere between 22 and about 15, 16. So it dictates what like gear can drop, and so like the difference between 200 to 400 HP, say on a gear that's 22 compared to 35. And it's also obviously as we level, we get more points to put in our talent tree. We have scoped out.
How dare you enter Sauron's fortress?
That's a very quick line. That's good. So those lines can be very long as well.
Overlords tend to be chatty sometimes.
They do. They tend to tell us how ridiculous we are for coming into their fort and how they're going to kill us and how they're going to have fun with us, but we can just donk this guy, and that's the entire Overlord fight. So this big build up for a very, very simple fight, and we're immediately going to go into another fort at this point. We're actually going to go into a lower level fort. Because of the break, I actually did them in the reverse order, but that's fine. It doesn't actually change anything at all. It's just we do them in a slightly different order normally. And this is an unfortunate glitch. This loses us 35 seconds. For some reason, the voice line corrupts, and it doesn't play, and we just stand here instead of giving our speech.
So now we get the silent tantrum.
And now we get the silent, and now we stand here while the game tries to figure out what happens for 30 seconds before we finally plant the flag. We can't do anything. The game, it's not a soft lock, but yeah, the game just doesn't know what to do, and then eventually it'll kick into gear and remember, oh, that's right, I meant to plant a flag. Come on. There we go. One of the other runners actually has all the speeches in front of them and actually gives the speech whenever that happens. It's a fairly common glitch.
That's a good way of handling it. I like it.
I'm tempted to do that as well. So, even though we only captured one guy, the game always gives us at least 2 options to put as the Overlord here. So that's always nice of the game to do that for us. So we're going to do a little bit of backtracking here. But before we do, like before, we're going to pack up everyone in this fortress, which is just the 2 of those. Yep, that's fine. And then we're going to go back into that menu, look at our quests. We're actually going to go back to the second zone of the game, the Spider Town, which is my favourite zone. And we're going to do the fort. Normally we do this fort before Saragost, but it really doesn't actually matter the order you do them in. This fort will be slightly lower level, so we should be able to, any captains and warchiefs inside it, we should be able to capture.
Someone's asking what the exact setup is you're using to be able to dunk all of these orcs.
Okay, so it's if you're below 16 and don't have the Bestial Rage, it's build up your might first. It is then run them over, immediately press execute, and you have to whip the camera in their direction. It's actually, it sounds very complex, but it's really easy once you get the hang of it, and it's got it's probably about like a half a second to a second window where you can do it. So it's very, very simple once you do it, but the main thing is that you've got to make sure that the camera is as close as you can to that person. Because the game will try to not target the grounded orc, it'll try to target anyone else, but if you're directly facing them, it will. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go into my garrison here, which is where we've been storing all these orcs. And I'm going to bring one out. And we do that so that I can make this fortress a bit faster. So we go into our garrison, and we now make this guy our bodyguard. And what that means is in this siege, even though I don't have anyone there on my left, I will be able to summon him in the siege and he'll help me capture the point faster. And I could technically just put him in the siege army rather than making my bodyguard. However, if he's in my army, he will deliver a line during this event. We'll see that at the very last fort because I will have people in my army. He will deliver a couple of lines in this event, so this is a faster way of getting him inside. Plus, it means I don't have to wait for him to climb into the fort. I can immediately summon him once I'm inside the fort.
It looks like a group of
Well, that is a really bad roll in terms of level. This guy should be in the mid-20s, but he can be as high as that.
But if you think you're taking this fort with that sorry excuse for an
Yeah, you said this is the lower level zone, right?
It's meant to be the lower level zone, yes. But it can roll as high as Saragost. The reason why we do it first is because it's a much quicker capture. And we only ever need to come into this zone when we're just to do this, once we got out of the tutorial. So I'm not going to bring out Steve straight away, because with this zone normally, there is no one on the first capture point, in terms of captains or... Oh, that's an explosion. There's never anyone on these first points here. So there's no point bringing out Steve, because the archers up the top they won't really target me, but they will try to fight and target down Steve. Now I'm going to summon my bodyguard here. He's going to come into the fray, throw a bomb directly on my face apparently. And now he speeds up the capture time here. The reason why we don't bring a bodyguard into Saragost is because they have a high chance to die in Saragost, which was the place we were just in, the snow zone. And we really need as many people as we can now for the last fort that we're going to use that's called Gorgon. So there is captains at the next one, so I'll get around this corner, and then I'll summon Steve. Hi Steve, how you going? And we will run this guy over. And he's Beastmaster. So Steve's just going to go for a power nap for a second.
Steve's very tired today.
He's getting very tired. These Beastmasters are tiring him out a bit too much, I think. So that guy over there is retreating, so we don't need to pay attention to him anymore. My guy's throwing me a bomb, so I don't want to be involved in that. I'm going to actually turn off my focus here, so that he comes back. I'm trying to pull him back into the circle, because while I'm not in the circle, my guy's still capturing, thankfully, but obviously my capture speed is not happening. Now that he's come out of the circle, we're still capturing. So we're going to kill that guy and not shame him to make sure he doesn't come back for Sauron. And again, we're just waiting for the capture to happen. Can get very unlucky and gets 2 sets of captains. We did not today though. So you can see those siege beasts up the top raining fire down. They can actually hit this area, so I'm standing at the very corner. That'll discourage them from firing at me. And we're really just biding our time. Oh, they're firing at my captain.
I just grinned a little bit, because right as when you're talking about how you might get lucky, and then, oh, that didn't happen, one of my roommates who's streaming not that far away just goes, no! in the background.
That's great. Okay, so we're not going to use a Caragor Donk on this guy, mainly because I don't have it available. And I also don't want to use my Elven Rage. Yeah. We need it for some Nazgul fights coming up soon.
So, the little Tark has managed to make it to my throne.
Since we haven't scouted this guy, we're not going to get all the information, but what we are going to know is we're going to know what his... We can see his positive stats, but we cannot see his negative stats. So this is actually a great example here. It says gain intel up there, we can't see. What we can see is that he's beast-proof anyway, so the Caragor strat would have not mattered. Okay. Let us fight. So we're going to do this fight old school. We're not going to use our Elven Rage, and we're actually just going to beat him down. Thankfully, because this is a low-level fort, there's barely any people in this fort besides him. Okay, we're not going to fight on that, because that's about to be a poison vent. If I can get my rage up nice and quick, which would be really helpful, before his poison effect wears off, we can set him on fire and combine the effects. No, it overrid it. That's unfortunate. Sometimes you can set them on fire and get an effect called Balefire, which is both poison and fire, and it is very damaging to captains. Poison vent about to fire again, so we can get out of the way of it. We don't want to be in the poison vent while it's going off, so I'm just going to roll around a little bit here. Oh, and he has an ability called Adapted, which means that he's slowly adapting to my tactics, and he's going to become immune to things that he wasn't immune to before.
Is that based on what you're using, or can he just randomly like become error-proof for something?
That'll be basically what I'm using. So that's a trait that he has. So he's I can no longer freeze him or stun him, but he can't be immune to the glaive, which is great for me. And as you go up in difficulty, a lot more captains, like base level captains, will have sword drop. Awesome. A lot more captains will have adaptability as a trait, and it just sort of scales up from your difficulty. It's very rare on easy, and it goes up to Grave Walker, where pretty much all of them will eventually have adaptive. And again, we got another glitch. So another sound glitch here today, unfortunately. And I think I definitely am going to print out the the speeches so I can start giving them as well, because I think that would be a good way to break this awkward pose.
Celebrant Boar just has stage fright today.
Yeah. Any second now. Okay, the sound's died, so that's usually a good indication that it's about 10 seconds away. There it is. Okay. So again, we just need to pick up a person in charge. It really doesn't matter who we pick. We're given random people. And we're going to pack up the rest because, unfortunately, as much as I love this zone, we are not coming back to this zone again.
Some people in chat are also suggesting you could get out some speeches from like movies and shows that you could mix in with the real ones.
That would be excellent. I will have to do that for future. Alright, we're going to go into our character. We're going to grab this ability, which is amazing. So I'll explain that ability in one moment, and it's a really important one to have for the next upcoming section. Oh, it to go to our quests, and it is time to do the Atarial set of quests. And these are the final set of quests before we unlock the Bright Lord. We still have one more fort as well to capture, but we on purposely leave that to the very last moment because it is such a hard fort to do. It is where the difficulty spike ramps up. Thankfully, all these orcs that we're packing into our inventory means that we are making it easier than it used to be. When I first started running this game, we didn't have that strategy, and Gorgoth was very likely to have at least 2 or 3 actual full deaths in it, so full resets of the siege, just because it was very, very difficult. But since then, we've obviously found ways to mitigate most of that. Okay. Excellent. So this, by the way, if there's any bidding game designers out there, this is how you should do an escort quest. Because as long as we walk along the path that Atariel is going to walk along, we don't have to escort her at all. Thankfully. So as long as we stick to a very strange path, which is going to look a little bit weird, we don't have to kill a single orc or escort her at all. And it is great. We're going to come up these stairs. I'm going to save my focus here to let it recharge. Should start recharging any second. Nope, unfortunately not. That's okay.
I think my other favorite way of doing an escort quest is just, it only matters if they die, so if you can blitz through it fast enough, then you can just leave them.
Yes. Yes, that is definitely another way that I enjoy as well. But yeah, so as long as we stick to this very kind of particular path, it is all good. And we have plenty of walking. And there's a drunk orc talking about how he's never going to drink again. We've all been there. Well,
no more grog! Starting tomorrow, grog will never touch my lips. It was great because it was like comedically, really extremely right-panned audio at the same time as well.
Yep. Okay, so this is the first of the named Nasgul fights, and I'm going to start rolling here because I have to dodge his blast here. Okay, great. So I'm going to switch to controller again, and if I'm switching to controller, I'm pretty sure you know what that means. So we now have a talent that lets us build double might, and we only expend half the might per attack. And if we actually build it to double might before just using it again, it does a lot more damage. So as you can see here, this is meant to be a long drawn out fight, but he keeps doing that big AoE ability because he's taken so much damage in the early game that he's basically at certain breakpoints. So we're going to execute him now that we've got double might. A little bit more, there should be one more phase here. And this should be it here. Nope, that's a different attack. That's okay. That's a good one to see. Okay, and we've broken him. So that was, wow, that was a really good fight for Sultan. So I was expecting at least one more time where he did his big AoE explosion, but thankfully he decided not to do it today.
Someone in chat's asking about the sword you found earlier, because you found a sword and you commented on it, but you haven't.
Have not equipped it, yes. That was me just being a little bit bad, but that's alright, it's all good. So we will equip it. Now, thank you very much, chat.
So long as that
Okay, so we're going to continue the Atariel questline here. We're going to head back to Saragost. Unfortunately, we can't do this before the Saragost siege because it doesn't unlock until the Saragost siege is done. So we do have to backtrack a little bit, but that's okay. And we're going to fight Helm Hammerhead. So Atariel's role in this game is she is the Nasgul hunter sent here by Galadriel. She has an ability called the Light of Galadriel. It is used in the DLC a lot. That is a fun little run, full of cutscenes unfortunately, so it's not a great showcase run, but it is a fun little run. But she is basically the Nasgul hunter, so all the missions with her revolve around Nasgul. So here's our Overlord from before. It really doesn't matter who we put in charge here. The line may vary a little bit, but we don't really have control. We are going to get a Ghoul encounter here. If we do this right, we need to fire another bullet. Unfortunately he clipped me with one of those weapons, so I lost all my might then. That's okay. And Nasgul as well don't get slowed down during focus time. So you can't just go into focus and then just start beating on them. So that's phase 1 of this fight. Ideally we jump straight down to him, use an execute and trigger, but I got hit by one of his projectiles while in the air. So now the dragon very nicely opens up our gate so we don't have to climb the walls. And it could have just used the front door, but, you know, decided to blow a hole through it. And we're going to now use Shadow Strike that we finally have to teleport to him. Okay, clear out these ghouls. I can't execute him, which means he's going into an animation where he's going to summon more ghouls. You actually have to wait half a second here. If you just go for an execute straight away, the game will prioritise executing a ghoul. I can kind of move during this cutscene, so I can pilot myself a little bit. And now we go into phase 3. A little bit more. There we go. And again, it's all about building that double might up as we do more damage. I can't execute him, which means he's doing an animation. So whenever my character model looks like it's stuttering, it's me pressing the execute button and the game refusing to register the command because the Nasgul is in the middle of doing something else and he can't be interrupted. And now we get to see the first scene where, because we're in the Atariel skin, from the skin glitch we did before to fast travel, we're going to have Atariel talk to Atariel. There's a better scene for that later, just coming soon. Alright. We have to wait to finish bleeding out. Thank you, game. Okay, and we use that fast travel we unlocked way back before when we first came to Saragos to come here. And go into the second mission for Helm Hammerhead.
Is there a max distance for those like arrow
yes,
teleports?
There is. For the ones that are the orc teleporting directly to orcs, it's whatever the draw distance is. But for the ones where you just target a ground, there is a max distance, which is why I didn't go as far as you'd assume I would. Mm-hmm. So this mission is just all about killing dragons. Since Helm Hammer is the Beastmaster of the Nazgul.
If we could dominate one, we could turn the weapon of
and
the
we're going
enemy
to grab
against
Steve,
you.
because Steve is awesome.
You do nothing to dispel my fears, Elflord.
Just going to block a few of these. You should fall. No, you decided not to fall today. You should have fallen, but that's alright. Just wait for him to come round again. Now we're not shooting them down with arrows because there is a much faster way to take care of them. Here, you'll see this. That's why we got Steve out. Steve has his own execute for the dragon, so Steve is very versatile. Oh, that was still an execute, but Steve decided to jump into the air to do it.
Oh, wow.
To the Nasgul when they are defeated.
Chad is happy to see Steve is back.
It returns to
Yep.
Balrog, growing in strength
And we're going to leave Steve here because the Beastmaster Nasgul makes him go for a nap, and Steve doesn't want to go for a nap. So we're just going to let Steve be over there for a bit, and we're going to dash into this fight. There we go. And again, I'm going to switch to controller here, just for the same reason I always switch to controller. Ideally, we can break this guy without having to do any of the fight if I do everything correctly. So I'm just going to focus for a few seconds. Very close. Very, very close to breaking him. There we go. So that was one strike away from being in perfect fight for on Hammerhead.
My torment ends. Yours is simply beginning.
Okay. So now we go to Gorgoth, and this is the last zone of the game. Again, we're going to be here. We're going to do an Atarial mission. We're going to do the Siege of Gorgoth, and then we get to complete the game. So it looks like, you know, we've got a ton of time left, but the Siege of Gorgoth can take over half an hour sometimes. So it is a very big siege.
How much of that is just because you're fighting against super over-leveled enemies at this point?
That's correct. Yep. We can say hello to Steve again. Caragors are the fastest land movement that we have access to, because we don't unlock any fast travel here. So it is riding Steve to the next quest objective. Almost there. Brave War. Excellent. So this is the last of the Atarial missions that we have to do. There are others, but they are optional. This is the last of the big mandatory missions.
I know the Nasgul must be...
Now, one thing we get to learn in this mission is that Wraith or Ghosts, which are a new type of mob that we're going to see here, do not like fire. And thankfully there is a nice campfire right here. We can blow that up. All of them will start glowing green, which means they're on fire, and we can just move on. We don't have to fight them at all, they'll burn to death. And now our objective is to free the race by going around and stealth attacking them, because apparently that's how you put people to rest, is stealth attack them and brand their face. Perfect. And we can also Shadow Strike them as well, now that we have that ability unlocked. It actually costs 2 arrows to Shadow Strike, whereas it costs 1 to just do a dash to the ground. So we do have some arrow routing here. If Atariel's a good person, she will get that Wraith for me. She is. That's great. Yep, she's getting that one. So I can now direct her to kill that one for me. Grab this guy, roll away, jump up on here, and stealth attack this one. Atariel should be about there. Yep, to get that one. And this last guy gets in position for us to Shadow Strike to, and there is the free arrow refill on the way to our objective. So we've I've kind of mapped that area out. The other runners do it very slightly differently, but with the general idea of going that kind of route.
You will submit to the Witch King.
So this is Isildur. His speciality is raising the dead.
You will die, and I will raise.
So if I was going for absolute world record strats here, I would completely ignore the race and just try to damage Isildur. However, I would like to play it a tiny bit safe, so we're just going to spend 1 charge on burning all the race away. So that's a glitch there where the game wants me to block, but it doesn't actually let me block because it doesn't bring up the block command. Which I was holding block, but it didn't matter, the game would not let me block.
That's unfortunate because it cleared your rage bar since you didn't have one built.
Yes, it did. Okay. That should be very close to send. Yep. So this is where Isildur leads us now. We'll fight him again later after the next siege. He's just going to rage out for a little bit first, slamming the ground for a few bits and pieces before he finally gives up. And now we get to find Idril's father. Here he is here. We're going to bring them all over here for a lovely cookout. Wait a few seconds. And then burn them. That guy at the back may not be caught, but that's okay. Idril's father actually has a bit more HP, so we're just going to burn again. One more time. And that's that mission. And now we get to see Ataru talk to Ataru.
Isildur will raise more of Gondor's fallen. I will track him. You and I will meet again.
Well, as long as I wear this ring, I'm sure that is true.
Okay. And that is now the end of the Atarial missions. So we are now on to the hardest part of the game, the Gorgoth Siege.
All enemies have a weakness.
And for some reason the game doesn't allow us to summon Steve here to run to the next objective. I'm not sure why it does that, it only does it on this one bit, but that's okay. We just end up walking like normal.
Steve's just getting beauty sleep.
He is getting beauty sleep. That is a good point, because we will need him quite a bit in this next siege. But before we do this, we now finally get to understand why we were dumping all the orcs into our inventory before. So we'll open up our inventory. 11 is a really good number. And you can see here, I'll actually let this one play out, and I'll skip the rest. Our level 23 captain instantly kills a random captain on the map. And that can be captains that are assigned to the Warchief and meant to be in this siege. So here's a level 11 guy, he does the same thing, they are always guaranteed. And this is just leftover animation stuff from the in-game cash shop. And we sort of abuse it this way. So that's why we spent the whole time collecting captains. Sorry, I cut you off there.
I was just saying, is this just eliminating as many captains from the siege as possible, since it takes time for them to like replace like underlings and such?
Yes, so basically this will let us... they may not all be part of the siege, but because this is the last zone, there are normally 3 or 4 captains assigned to a Warchief per position we have to take. So it's a very good chance that they're taking out a large chunk of the captains. And this is much faster than any other way we have to kill captains. Because the Karagor strat, while it is fast, it isn't 100% reliable. Plus it also allows us to bring a full army into the final siege. Because now we have people in this zone that we can actually send into the siege with us. Okay. So now we go into our army for a moment. We're going to grab that snake guy, looked good, so I'm going to make him my bodyguard. How much money do we have? Let's see how much money we have. No, I don't have enough. That's fine. I was going to level up one of those characters, but we haven't collected enough money during this run. Alright. So we can see the difference here. You can see like level 40 and we can't even see the rest of these, but this is my army of level 11s and there's a 23, that's a good one, and that will do. And so now we'll buy some siege upgrades because we can.
Is there like a sweet spot on the number of captains you want to replace in this zone to like maximize your chances of replacing captains?
All of them would be the sweet spot, but we definitely don't have access to that many captains.
I'm just thinking like in terms of, because it takes a while per animation, like is there a number you're aiming for?
We're aiming for at least sort of 8. Anywhere between 8 and 13 is good. Anytime after then you're kind of like, you're getting rid of a lot of guys. And it's taking up a lot of time for the animation, but it's still faster than potentially having to fight them in the actual zone.
Yep.
So this guy, unfortunately, because he's 8, oh, he's a tank as well, that's not great, I didn't notice that before. I'm going to quickly check his stats, because he might also be death-defying, which would mean it will be an absolute mess of a fight if he is.
We will ensure that you and any others who challenge him.
So give me your stats, big boy, there we go. No, he has determination instead, that's fine. Determination allows him to heal during combat, but we don't care about that.
But not all.
Why I was worried about Death Defying is because when we Elven Rage, when we get him down to a certain level, he'll trigger Death Defy and our Elven Rage will run out during the animation of his Death Defiement and then we have to fight him again from start. And these are the animations we tried to skip by having a bodyguard in Kirithburn rather than bringing them with us. The orcs just talk up the fight.
Those were 2 relatively quick ones though, at least.
Yes, they were very quick. Going to grab Steve again. We're going to climb them. Even though those small walls are there, they've actually got spikes on them that prevent orcs from climbing, so we're just going to climb the big turret here. we're going to free this dragon because it's the gate holder. And that looked like a Beastmaster. No, it wasn't. That's great. He knocked over. Excellent. And as you can see, he has no captains with him at all, which means our strategy from before worked.
Nice.
So there is definitely a Beastmaster over there. I can tell because they're throwing a lot of axes at that Drake that just flew off. And that's usually a standard Beastmaster trait, so I need to be worried, a little bit mindful of that.
Try and get Steve to eat the other ones before the Beastmaster makes him take a nap.
Yep. I need to figure out which one's which. It is that one. Okay, so it is the Warchief, unfortunately. Oh, there's a Blood Axe. We do not want his lines. He has the single longest line in the game, this guy here. Thankfully, we did not get it. It is 34 seconds, and it is absolute agony. Thankfully, we killed him before he delivered our lines. Oh no. Yes, he was the Beastmaster, so he did. But he didn't kill Steve, he just pushed me off Steve. Yes, Beastmaster. So you can see that in his title there, Marauder Beastmaster. Fortunately, most of my orcs are bleeding out now, but there's really no point in going to save them. I might go save the level 23 guy because he might be useful. No, he's on the other side of the fortress for some reason. So he's dead. He's as good as dead as well. If I go outside the fortress, the siege beasts can target me, and they can actually kill me. Oh, sorry, buddy. I did not mean to shadow strike you. Yeah, for the most part, we're not bothering to save the orcs. They're so low level that they'll probably even die to the grunts in here. Okie dokie. Just waiting for this zone.
Kaiser's filling us in on the speech that we missed in chat. Look upon the glory of the Blood Axe. 2 essays later.
Yes, it is without a doubt one of the longest. It is the longest line because I actually did time it because I was interested.
Do you remember how much it came out to?
Just 34 seconds.
Oh my goodness.
So you sit there for 34 seconds and he talks about how amazing his weapon is. Where are my Connors? Here they are. Not a full. I'm not going to do full charges on them. I'll probably end up putting Connor to sleep. That's all good. And moving on. Yes, he spends 34 seconds telling us about how the Blood Axe talks to him and how he loves the Blood Axe and it is the best thing ever, and we'll knock down that fly nest. Oh, Olag here. And Beastmaster. And as you can see, because my captains are so much lower level, they get basically one shot by the other captains. So 33 compared to 17, he had no chance. I'm going to blow this one up first. Good, he can be set on fire. That's actually quite handy for us. Vault over here, set him on fire. Since he's a defender, he can only be set on fire from the back. He can't be set over from the front. No arrows left, so I need to grab those arrows over here because I want to use the other fire trap. Oh, no, someone put the fire out. That's unfortunate. But all good. And you can see there, that one normal strike, that wasn't even a special attack. That took off half my HP then when I got hit by the captain. So it does. I will go silent occasionally, so don't worry about that. Oh, a Warchief just died on the other side of the map that we have to kill later. So he died to seed fire.
Okay. We take those.
It happens. We take those. We definitely take those.
I do like how the commentary has devolved in some very great out of context sentences, like, don't want to fully, there's my Connors, don't want to fully charge this because I don't want to put it to sleep.
It's one of those things where you go through the motions so much that you have to sort of find those fun little things to talk about during the sieges, because otherwise we're just standing here basically running in circles.
Yeah.
We could be charging our Elven Rage. That was about the only thing we could be doing here, but we don't want to waste time. But
Because you don't want to trigger any of the animations that slows down the ticking on the point.
okay, you normally spawn up there. Where are you? Oh no, you are up there. Okay. So again, we just shot down some meat, grab another set of Connors. Not going to fully charge. We call these donkey shots. They're just non-charged shots. They do a little bit of damage, but really not that much. Oh, and a siege attack hit me. So this was where the Warchief who died would have been. But I'm guessing one of those stray siege shots just shot him too many times and he was weak to poison. Okay, my Connor is very low, so I'm actually going to use the ability here to summon more Connors. You can see there's our new Connor. And he's already on our side as well. But he's enjoying going up and down that ladder apparently too much for me to be able to grab him. There we go. So this guy's got a bit more HP. Poison still, unfortunately, because he got hit by siege.
Still a pretty significant chunk more HP than the last one.
Yeah, but it's slowly ticking down, unfortunately. You can see it there. It's almost gone again. So after this capture, I might summon a third Connor. Where are you hiding, Connor? Oh. The dismount button is also the pick up item button. So if you're wondering why I picked up a random item then, I was trying to dismount and it picked up the item instead. No, don't go that way. Don't go that way. Up here. Thank you. Oh, lots of O-lags here. Okay, we're going to free this dragon again. And Connor unfortunately needs to go for another nap. Now I'm not going to summon the White Caragor Steve here because I need. Oh no, I can't use him actually for the Overlord's fight, so we're right to summon Steve again. So hi Steve. Oh, you just got hit by a dragon shot the moment you spawned. Come on Steve, get back up please. Nope, Steve is decided to go for an early nap, and that's all right. We're going to go without Steve.
Steve was still sleepy.
He was still sleepy. He's asking for 5 more minutes before he gets out of bed. He set the snooze button.
But you and me,
It's just one of those mornings, you know?
Yep. Understandable completely.
That's it. No more talking. I need to hear
Alright, so there is another set of Connors we can get here. Is the game going to spawn them? Occasionally it doesn't actually spawn them. Today it was nice enough to. Again, we're just going to donkey shot him just to make sure that he doesn't die. So that's what I was talking about with the targeting. Even though I knocked down the guy, he decided to target the Olag over the Warchief. But we got him second time, so that's great. And thankfully that Olag was not a Beastmaster, because he can also kill our beast instantly. And so that's pretty much all the use we have for this Connor, and we fight better off them, so we're going to get off. And we're going to set them on fire, see if they're fireproof or not. They're both not fireproof, which is great. Just going to use our glaive here to clear some air. So saving up double damage for fire doesn't actually do more damage. It's only for the execute that does more damage. So we're going to try to kill him with fire here, so that he doesn't go death-defying, just in case he was. Olags have a slightly higher chance to go death-defying, so be safe, and we also don't get his closing line that way. Final Olag before we can go into the main fight. Excellent. He's down. And we're not actually bothering to put any more talents in. We've got all the talents we need to complete this run at this point. So if you're wondering why I'm not going back to the talent tree, no, I should have 4 points now. It's purely because we just don't need to. And now is a really good time for questions, because this capture is going to take me a little bit, unfortunately. So if there's any other happy questions, more than happy to take some.
Looking through chat for questions. Yes, this is the second game in the series. I don't think I've missed any.
That's alright. Kaiser's been pretty diligent. He said he'd hang around and answer a lot of questions in chat as well, so that's good. So I'm going to switch to controller here because unfortunately we cannot donk this guy.
Someone asked, what's your most bizarre experience in this game?
My most bizarre experience. I would say killing Zog during the very first Balrog encounter. You can kill Zog, and you can essentially soft lock the game because the game just does not expect you to kill Zog at all. And the Balrog ends up running around and doing nothing, just running circles down in the bottom area, and you cannot progress the game, and it looks very bizarre. Outside of that, during a world record attempt for the Blade of Galadriel DLC, I clipped into a wall and it made all the orcs on the map neutral, and they no longer wanted to fight me or interact with me at all, and I couldn't finish the game, and it basically soft-locked me to the game again. And it was right on the very last fight. Okay, so this guy's actually immune to execution. We can execute him there. Oh, and he's fireproof. This is not great. So let's take a look at the stats. So, I lied about not needing a talent point because he is immune to everything we do. So I'm going to grab this talent point, which turns our radial fire blast into a radial poison blast.
Is that something you can unequip whenever you want,
yes.
Or is that now just permanently poisoned?
So we'll unequip that and go back to fire, because fire has the best animation of making them run around and scurry, whereas they'll continue fighting while poisoned. And that's the Oleg fight.
Someone wants to know what your favorite captain is?
My favourite captain. Okay, I have a deep love. Oh, we've got the glitch again, so that's great. I have a deep love for the deranged, broken version of Bruise. So we saw Bruise earlier in the game. The end of the quest line, we actually on purposely derange and break him to show we're strong and all that. And he ends up being able to only say the words, "I don't want the fort. It's your fort. I don't want the fort." And that's his only voice lines, and he'll repeat that constantly when you're with him. So I have on my 100% save. I haven't finished it yet, but I am slowly building an entire fortress thanks to online conquest, where I can go into other people's maps and grab bruises as well. And I'm going to build an entire fortress with nothing but deranged bruises. It's going to be my Overlord, my Warchiefs, and all my captains. It's going to be glorious, but I'm only about halfway through that at the moment, so it's not worth showing off at this point. Okay, so now comes the big time. This is the final fight. So I'm going to come around here, Shadow Strike down here. We're actually going to go back into our character and reselect fire. And it is now time for the final mission of the game, the Bright Lord. So this is where this bridge scene here is any captains that we've shamed before have a high chance to come back. Now, one thing we've always noticed is this is always going to have an OLAG at the start. We're not sure exactly why, but it means we can't pull Steve out straight away. Oh, and there's a broken guy. So that guy's screaming, "Tasty, tasty, so tasty." He's a deranged mob, and that's his only voice lines. And so I love all the deranged mobs because they just sound so strange compared to like...
That's the guy you deranged earlier, right?
That is the guy I deranged earlier. I believe I can see his handprint. I will get a close-up of him in a sec and see if he's got the handprint on him. So he'll actually have the handprint if he's my mob, or sometimes they just naturally spawn as deranged mobs. Alright, that guy's down.
I just remember you commented that you deranged one, that there was a high chance they'd show up again later?
So, yes. No, that is not the mob that I deranged. He doesn't have a handprint on his face.
Really?
Yep, so that's just another random mob that just happened to spawn as a deranged mob.
And it's not guaranteed that they'll show up, it's just a much higher chance that they will show up. But there's more than one wave here. We've got another 3 or 4 waves here. Okay, so he's immune to execution as well. What we're going to do here, fastest way, take him, and we're going to tell him to stay here and fight with us. And that's his only voice line.
Tasty.
Okay. Hi Steve, how's it going? Oh, this guy spawned with a Caragor, so I could have taken his. And he's not a Beastmaster, so we're okay.
To me and you facing down right now. Boggles the mind, doesn't it?
I mean, someone's asking what the easiest Overlord fight you ever had was, and I assume we've seen that this run because you instantly Caragor donked it.
Yes, that is the easiest. That is the easiest way by far to fight an Overlord.
I think you've made the Dark Lord angry.
This is only the beginning.
Oh, come on, Steve, run away. Enraged by Caragor. Okay. So let us back up a little bit, turn around, and donk him. Excellent. Yeah. So the easiest Overlord fight was the one where we used the Caragor donk. They become a complete. I think this guy level 15 might be the guy who I deranged. Yes, he is. That is the guy in the back left with the archery. So the guy in the gold armor, you can just see behind this one. I can tell the way he's walking, he's a deranged mob already.
Where are the screams? I want to hear the screams.
We didn't get to hear a deranged line.
We did not get to hear his range line. Unfortunately, it's slow sometimes because he was behind the other two. He wasn't considered part of that group. But they go from screaming the word buttons to screaming "I don't want the fort" to they scream a lot of different things.
And tasty, so tasty.
Tasty, and there's about another 9 or 10 separate lines as well that I can't think off the top of my head. Okay, and this is the last time we see Steve. So Steve's going to go for one final nap now. And Steve is going to go for some well-earned rest.
Someone wants to know what's the hardest Overlord you've ever fought.
That would be last weekend when I was doing my stream, actually. It was a Death Defy Immune Execute Overlord, and he was an utter pain to fight. And now, if I hadn't gotten an Overlord where I could have used the Donk, Saragost, we would be able to actually Elven Rage here and get Isildur down to half health. But unfortunately, we have to fight in traditional style, which is fine. Lets us show off just a tiny bit more of the game. But that's why we don't want an OLAG as an Overlord. And the last Overlord that I did have, that I had trouble with, to go back to that question, was actually an OLAG at the final fort. And I actually died to him, and properly died. However, there is a mechanic in the game that if you're low level, when taking on an Overlord, it can happen anytime, but it happens more often when you're low level, you can actually get a saviour to come in and save you from death. It's a really low chance, and it's not something we get to rely on in the speedrun. But it actually happened, and he killed the Overlord for me.
That's great.
Twist of fate. So it's a really cool feature. And there is actually a developer who sadly passed away during the development of this game. And he actually has an orc that can come and save you, modelled after him in the game as well. So that's an amazing little tribute. And one of my really old world records back in, I want to say, the start of this year, actually had him save me during the world record run. So I thought that was like a really touching, fitting, cool little thing that happened. Okay, so we're just waiting for Isildur now to just basically stop shooting around the map. While we're waiting, we may as well grab one of these guys out. Oh, you don't want to attack our guys too much. If you actually attack your own mobs too much, they will turn on you and become hostile. So there is actually an achievement in the game for that too. Oh, that's unfortunate. The game decided to target that orc there instead of Isildur, but all good. We've broken him, and we're on to the final 2 fights of the game. So it's a little bit of a spoiler here for the story, so if you want to just, because it's going to be a very jarring, confusing mess in a few seconds, if you want to tune out for a few seconds, just do so. We are now in Nasgul. We have Celebrimbor has betrayed us, left us for dead, and we took Isildur's ring during a confrontation, there, and we are now a Nasgul. It doesn't show, unfortunately, because I have the Atariel skin on, but we are now one of these Nasgul. We are fighting against the Nasgul as like a rebellious Nasgul. So if you're wondering what we're doing here, we're basically going to go confront the Witch King and take over from him. And my only objective here is to capture this point. We don't actually need to kill the Nasgul. I'm really just building up might here so I can build up my Elven Rage for the Witch King fight.
You still have Elven Rage?
Yes, I still have Elven Rage, but it's a slightly different modified version. I now control the undead because I have Isildur's ring. So I summon a bunch of undead mobs, and instead of me raging out like I do, they do the damage, and it functions effectively the same with a couple of caveats. I'm not the one attacking, and if the mobs are immune to ranged, they can still take damage through this version of Elven Rage. It's called something different, but I never remember the name of it because it's Elven Rage to me. Yeah. And we only use it for this literally one segment in the run. So, almost have all my Elven Rage up, which is great. Once we do that, the fastest strat is to play Pogo. So this prevents the Nazgul from attacking me, slowing me down, and we just play Pogo till the points captured, and the Nazgul just goes away. And we're just going to use our dash to dash as far as we can across the rooftops. Come on, there we go. Thank you very much. And grab the... Oh, it fell. That's all good. It's about a 3-second loss, so no biggie at all. And we capture the final point before we go into the Witch King fight. So, did not mean to climb that Olag. Again, we're just going to end up playing Pogo here. So again, this is a great time for questions, because playing Pogo is really not difficult. And as you can see, the Nazgul is having a real hard time targeting me. He's trying to target me, but he's just not able to actually hit me.
What's your favorite skin?
Favorite skin would be Baranol's skin. The gentleman from the start of the game. In this mode, he doesn't have any unique animations, but when you actually play the DLC that involves him, he has some of the best animations in the game. He has really good tactics, so that's a really fun run as well.
Alright, I have a very important question for you from chat.
Absolutely.
Do you think an infinitely long snake would be able to eat an infinitely long noodle?
I think it would take them an infinitely long time, so the answer would be yes and no at the same time. Schrodinger's infinitely long snake is probably the best way to answer that.
Good answer.
So, we're just playing Pogo with the Nazgul. He's trying his best. He's really trying well, but unfortunately not able to land a blow on us. We are just too fast and slippery for him. Okay, that's the final point. We are now going to go face the Witch King. Please climb this barricade. Okay. Perfect. So we wait for the Witch King to stun before we go into Elven Rage. So he's going to let us stun us either this attack or next attack. He will let us stun him now. And this is where we Elven Rage. And this is the version of Elven Rage. So these guys here are actually what generate my might for me. And they will attack the Witch King constantly. So I'm just doing my best to keep the Witch King locked up. And during that, we actually skipped an entire phase of the Witch King. You can skip the entire fight, but you need a really late sword drop, which unfortunately we did not get. But we did skip a phase there, which was Really, really good. And as you can see, the Witch King's having trouble understanding exactly what he's meant to be doing because a lot of voice lines are playing over the top, and that's the entire Witch King fight. So now we're down to the final fight of the game. Sauron versus Celebrimbor. So Celebrimbor is now sided with Atariel, and Atariel is now wearing his ring. And so now it's Atariel and Celebrimbor versus Sauron.
I have never felt such power.
I'm gonna. This part is not too bad, but phase 2 I need to focus pretty heavily, so I will go a little bit quieter in phase 2. But this part's not too bad. This is just occasionally parrying and just building up our might to full and then executing. Okay, a few more attacks. Okay, phase 2. So this is where I'm going to go a little bit quiet here because there's very hard timings to get 2 strikes in instead of 1 strike during the cycles. So there we interrupted the animation.
This is the path of Galadriel.
Perfect. That was a really good phase 2. Time will be coming. Oh, no, he's glitched out. So he's decided not to go down. That's okay. We just got to wait for Atariel to do that again. So phase 3 is coming up. And I will let you know when time is coming up. But be ready. It will be hopefully less than a minute unless Sauron decides to be very naughty. Where are you hiding?
Forces of darkness cannot harm me.
We're just waiting for Sauron to do his thing. Okay, there he is. Cool. We got caught on a clip then. And now we are able to Shadow Strike to him. So before he attacks us, we're not actually able to Shadow Strike. And time is coming up. Right now. That's time. Oh, that was an amazing run. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for being on.
No, absolutely. Shout outs to the other 2 runners, because they are awesome. Sorry, you were saying?
I said I think if we timed it properly with like the fact you had to close the game and such and on the pause, I think that's technically faster than your PB, the one you have listed on SRC.
That felt like pretty good. That felt pretty good, to be honest. I wouldn't know what the exact timing is, but that felt really, really good. So that could have been a PB, but that's all right. One day I'll get sub 3, and I'll be very, very happy, man. Quick shout out to the other runners, Gas Ultima and Kaiser. They are awesome people who inspired me to pick up this game. And finally, because I'd be in trouble if I didn't, shout out to my wife, who left the house for 2 days so I could practice and do this presentation.
Oh wow! I knew she
went
was
to her
gone
mother's
today.
house.
I didn't know it was 2 days.
Yeah, she went last night, so it's morning. It's afternoon, early afternoon in Australia now. So she left for 2 days so I could get some good practice time in, which it seems to have paid off.
Yeah, it was a really good run.
It was. So again, thank you. I am a real small-time streamer, and the fact that you guys gave me an opportunity like this, I'll be forever grateful. So thank you so much for just having me on and getting to demonstrate this amazing game. And shout outs quickly to the devs who said they might be watching. So if you are, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and both Raikon and Kaiser, who's been hanging out in chat this entire time, if you want to see more runs of this, go check those 2 out. One thing I generally tend to ask on the Spotlight is if people were interested in this and they want to go, potentially learn more about the speedrun of this game, where would they go?
They could go to speedrun.com, and if Kaiser would be so nice, I asked him if he could put in the link in the chat now. I'm not sure if he's going to or not. We also have a overarching Lord of the Rings speedrunning Discord, where we have most of the Lord of the Rings games outside of the Lego games, I believe. And we've got a channel dedicated to Shadow of War there. So Kaiser should hopefully put that in the chat in a few moments, and you guys can go there. Otherwise, it's linked on speedrun.com.
I'd link to the one on speedrun.com because links are filtered in chat, sadly.
Yep. So I would just go to speedrun.com, and the invite for the Discord is up there on any of the Middle-earth games, including Shadow of War. But that's all I have for you today, so thank you very much.
Yeah, it was fun having you on. Make sure you all tune in next week for the Community Spotlight. We're going to have a Disgaea 5 Platinum speedrun, which is going to be very interesting. A lot of people think those games, if you're going to do a Platinum trophy, should take, several days. But Green Z Saber is going to come on and he's going to blast through that in about 6 hours, I think, is the estimate for that. So
that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but that's going to be amazing.
So make sure you turn in next week for that. It'll be a lot of fun. Other quick announcements to go back to. Frame Fatale's schedule is going to be coming out on Wednesday, and prize and volunteer submissions will be opening at that point as well, so keep your eyes on gamesdonequick.com. We just opened submissions for West Coast Weekend, which is a weekend event we're going to be running with Red Bull. There's no charity component, just having a community event with some West Coast runners, either living there currently or have lived there in the past. And of course, tune in tomorrow for Time Capsule. It's a show about speedrunning games that were all released in the same year. They're going to be doing some speedruns of 2014 games starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you tune in for that. Besides that, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to play a few ads, and they're going to raid someone. So if you want to stick around past the ads, they help support us, and then we'll send you off to somebody else who's speedrunning, so you can continue to watch some people going fast if you'd like. But otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you again.